All right, Shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And so we out here once again, and we're gonna go right into it. As you can see, we got a few prophetic chapters lined up. We're gonna try to get through them, and in the order, all right, that leads to ultimately the end of this world and the beginning of the next one to come. All right, because pretty much that's what we're seeing now. Everybody is waking up to an extent to where they realize that we're starting to see the end of something, you know. Now, as far as the beginning, different people have different ideas of what that looks like. You got other nations, as the scriptures say, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? You got these other nations that are Russia, okay, China, that are looking to be the next world superpowers, but that's not how it's going to work. As a matter of fact, can brother give me 2nd Ezra chapter 5, right around, I think, the 3rd verse? It tells you, and he that, it's like, right here. And also, 2nd Ezra, you have it? All right, cool, 2nd Ezra 6 and 9. Yep. Oh, 6, verse 6.
2nd Ezra chapter 5 verse 6. And even he shall rule whom they look not for that dwell upon the earth.
Now when you read 2nd Ezra the 5th chapter, as a matter of fact, you can actually start at the top and then read up to verse 6. This is going into the coming destruction. All right, so around that same time, as you're going to see, when the destruction comes, what is it going to destroy? Or what is it going to come to do? It's going to destroy this society. All right, and this is Esau's kingdom, is his society. That's why his face is on the money system. That's why the currency that he uses is the so-called world reserve currency. All right, they pretty much run everything. If you look at movies and TV shows and all that, majority of people you're going to see are Edomite actors. You know, everything is tailor-made in the image of Esau in this time. Job 9:24. So the destruction that's going to come is going to destroy Esau's kingdom, and then there's going to need to be another ruler that's to come up, which is going to be Jacob, starting with Yahweh Shai.
2nd Ezra chapter 5 verse 1.
And Ezra was a prophet of the Lord who received visions of the last days, which we are in right now. All right, go ahead.
Nevertheless, as concerning the tokens.
So this now the angel basically was sent to reveal certain things to the prophet Ezra. Okay, so a part of the tokens being the signs of the last days were going to be revealed to him, but it was going to be revealed in part, right? Ezra didn't he didn't get 100% of everything. He got bits and pieces as well. He got a big portion, but it was still bits and pieces. Some things he didn't understand. Go on.
Nevertheless, as concerning the tokens, behold, the day shall come that they which dwell upon the earth shall be taken in great number.
Right, meaning when it says taken in great number, it means destroyed. All right, it tells you that in, matter of fact, you go to that real quick, 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verse, I believe it's around 13, no, really 14 or 15. Check the 15th verse, see what it says. Actually, verse 16. Oh, actually, no, start at 15, read 15 and then 16. Because it says they're going to be taken in a great number, right? So let's read that.
This is 2nd Ezra chapter 9 and 15. I have said before, and now do speak, and will speak it also hereafter, that there be many more of them which perish.
Perish means to die or to be destroyed. So there's going to be many more people that are going to what? They're going to die. Go ahead.
Than of them which shall be saved.
Than of them which shall be saved. So more people are going to die than those that are going to be delivered. And then it's going to make a comparison.
Like as a wave is greater than a drop.
So if you take a wave, which some waves are higher than majority of these buildings that we see, right? So like as a wave is what?
Compareth to a drop.
So you take a drop of water or a drop is greater, right? You take a drop of water or a drop of whatever, a drop is a drop. You don't even notice it. Compare that to a wave. Now that's a very great comparison. You know, a wave or a drop pales in comparison to a wave. Well, Ezra's saying here, like as a wave is greater than a drop, Go ahead.
And he answered me, saying,
Read that verse again.
oh, verse 16, like as the wave is greater than a drop. And he answered me,
So the comparison Ezra made was that there's going to be more people that are going to die than those that are going to be delivered, or those that are going to survive, and the comparison is going to be like a wave to a drop. So that's good on that. So that's why when you go back in 2nd Ezra 5, it tells you that what there shall be taken in a great number. Okay, because the destruction that's coming, starvation, all right, murder, natural disasters, ultimately World War III, all these forms of destruction is going to take out a lot of people that are living on the planet Earth, because that's what the Most High is getting ready to do. What?
Continuing. That they which dwell upon the earth shall be taken in a great number, and the way of truth shall be hidden.
The way of truth shall be hidden. Why? Because we're coming into a time where you're going to be an enemy, you know, of the world, really of the state, if you speak the truth, if you speak the ultimately the words of the scriptures. They're going to demonize that. They're going to demonize you. They're going to say you're a terrorist and you're anti-life and you're anything that's right. And so we need to do something about you. The new definition of terrorists are going to be people that ask questions, people that go against what the public narrative is. You're going to be the new terrorist, the enemy of the state. If they bring out the charagma, the grain of rice, and you don't want to take it, guess what? You against the state. You have things to hide. We got to watch you. You're a threat. You're dangerous. Go on. Are you looking for precept? So ultimately, that's what it's coming down to, and that's why it's going to take divine intervention to make it through these times. And people see it, you know. They just like to ignore it, but they see it.
This is 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 55. Verse 56.
I'll break it down.
And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law, which they had found, talking about the heathen, the other, specifically the Greeks, they burnt them with fire. So they burnt the scriptures. Verse 57. And wheresoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. Now, like the scriptures say, I believe that's in Ecclesiastes 1 and 9, there's nothing new under the sun. So the same thing that happened back then is going to happen today, whereas when they burnt the books of law back then, and anybody that consented unto the law, anybody that was following the law, statutes, commandments, when they found them, what the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. So just to add on to what the brother was saying, that in this time, if you're saying that you're an Israelite, when persecution has an all-time high, they're going to consent to put you to death.
16 and 70. 2nd and 16 and 70. Back up your point. Yeah. So that's, and ultimately, it's going to be a faith, a test of faith, because that's why the Lord said many are going to be offended and betray one another. A lot of people are going to say, no, I don't know about that stuff. They're going to pull the Peter. When Yahushai, when they asked him if he knew Yahushai, if he was associated with Yahushai, they would say, yo, weren't you one of those men, that one of his disciples? That, no, I don't know him. And Peter got mad. He started cursing and everything. So that's what a lot of these people are going to do. Those that are not of the elect, when the time comes, they're going to deny having any association with this truth. There shall be an insurrection. Yeah, no, just read that part for a second.
this is 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and 70. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord.
Right, so like the brother was saying, they're going to come after Israelites. Really, they're going to come after everybody, but there's going to be a target on your back if you're an Israelite. Okay? And that's when you're going to find out if you are truly one of the Lord's chosen or not. Because when they come after the Lord's chosen, he's going to lift up a standard against them. That's why we come out here boldly. We're not, I mean, what is so bad about what we're doing, coming out with the Bible that we believe in, and we're breaking down scriptures? Does that make us a cult? Does that make us a hate group? Does that make us wicked? How so? Do we not have the freedom to come out and teach the scriptures? People go on the internet all the time and they teach all kinds of things. Women go in there and teach other women how to be hoes. You know? People go in there and teach, you know, how to get away with. They have a TV show called How to Get Away with Murder. You know? But we are wicked because we are teaching out of the Holy Bible that your president swears on whenever they get inaugurated. How does that work?
They're teaching destructive lifestyles.
Right. That's okay though. So if we teach that you gotta stop doing these wicked things and repent and come back to the scriptures, come back to your nationality, all of a sudden we're the worst people in all of existence. Something ain't right. So read that.
Read it again.
Yep.
This is 2 Ezra chapter 16 and 70. For there shall be in every place in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord.
So this is why the Lord is going to need to intervene on our behalf, because they're going to come searching everywhere. It tells you in the verse above that the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled against you. So they're going to be sent after us. Go on.
Verse 71. They shall be like madmen, sparing none.
Right. So they're going to be like when you are dealing with somebody that's mad, a person that's mad doesn't have restrictions. They don't have boundaries. You know, because they're mad. Their mind doesn't work in the way that the average human being's mind is going to work, where you maybe might take out somebody's eyeball and then you might, oh shit, let me chill out. They're not thinking like that, you know? So they're going to be like madmen, sparing none. They're not going to know what pity is. And a lot of them are going to be super soldiers. A lot of them are going to be with demonic spirits on them. A lot of them are going to have MK Ultra, you know? A lot of these troops that are going to come out here, they're going to be in almost like robots, like cyborgs, injected with different serums, experimented on, so that they can crush their emotion, make them like robots that just do what they're told. They just follow orders. Why do you think the military is that way? Whenever they have whatever, a funeral or service, they got those the military servicemen that come on. They're like robots. They come on, boom, boom, then they stop, then they turn. They, you know, like literally like robots, and then they grab the thing, and then they. And I saw a video. There was one guy. He had a gun, so they rehearsed it, right? So he's supposed to do the thing, boom, and throw the gun and catch it, and the other guy missed it. So my man said he stopped. He turned around. You can see in his mind. He's like, when this service is done, man, it's over for your ass, man. You better leave now. And he walks back slowly, doing that robotic shit. Boom. So why do you think they do that? Because they're trying to take the human element out of these soldiers and make them more robot-like. Because the human element is going to tell you that's a baby. Even though your orders are going to be, look, you go to that neighborhood, kill all of them. They're going to say, nah, come on, man, I'm supposed to kill a baby? What? That's going to stop them from doing their job, and that's not what these elites need. They need somebody that's just going to see a target. They're not going to see age. That's why in Ezekiel 9:5, it tells you slay utterly old and young, rich and, not rich and poor, I'm thinking Revelation. Slay utterly old and young, old and young, you know, women and little children, because the Lord is going to put a spirit on them to where they're not going to see people. They're going to see targets, all right? And then they're just going to go into automatic kill mode.
All right, precept, but to back to the point, that's how like the Terminator, when you see the red thing, you see what he sees. Right. He just sees target, and then it says I need to terminate, and then it has like the circle with the crosshairs on it, and it's his whole thing is just to kill what he sent to kill.
That's right.
Just to back to your point, this is Psalm 124, a song of degrees of David. If it had not been the Lord who was on our side, now may Israel say. If it had not been the Lord who was on our side when men rose up against us, then they had swallowed us up quick when their wrath was kindled against us. So just like you were saying, when that insurrection comes, that's when they're going to come like madmen. If it had not been for the Lord, when you read the scriptures all the times when he delivered us from these other nations that came against it, if the Lord wasn't on our side, like it was going to say, verse 4, then the waters had overwhelmed us, comparing them unto a water, like it says in Isaiah 59 and 19, when the enemy shall come in like a flood. But when you look at a flood, what? Flood is like some, you know, you watch them disaster movies, the flood just comes in, it just comes in crazy. Like I said, like madmen, just an overflow of something.
The rushing in of waters. Yep.
That you can't stop. You just see it come at you, like, damn,
right.
What would I do?
Right.
Verse 4 again says, then the waters had overwhelmed us.
Because if you look at it from like a bird's eye view, right? Say you got a dam that breaks, you're just gonna see an influx of this water, and then it's gonna start to spread out and go everywhere. Well, if you look at movies where you got SWAT teams and troops that invade a certain area, that's what it looks like. the second they all like they get the go ahead, you just see an influx of just figures, and they just go, they spread out, they spread out, they spread out like a flood, and they surround you. Now you could pull up back here. I'll turn the camera a little bit more. Catch you. Yeah, so there was more on that?
Yeah. But just to add to your point, right, that's how they think, because what they're taught to check the corners, check here, and that's how water goes. It spreads everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
I'm going to read verse 4 again. It says, then the waters had overwhelmed us, the stream had gone over our soul. Then the proud waters had gone over our soul.
Meaning it's going to drown you. You're going to be overtaken. So if you take that out of metaphorical form into reality, meaning you're going to die. They're going to take your ass over.
Verse 6, blessed be the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, who had not given us as a prey to their teeth. Our soul is escaped as a bird out of the snare of the fowlers. The snare is broken and we are escaped. Verse 8.
So ultimately, when they come with their traps, they come with the hour of temptation. Because why is it going to be an hour of temptation? Because ultimately it's going to be a big ass trap that Esau's going to lay, and he's laying it right now. He's taking away all your other means, and he's putting you in a place where it's going to look like your only option is to trust in him. That's the trap. You know, you're going to think, damn, maybe I should go and take this thing. But that's when the bird looks at the bait and says, damn, maybe I should take a bite out of that. Like the disgusting mice, you lay a cheese on a rat trap, and then they come there, and then sometimes they come close, they look at it a little bit, damn man, then they run away. Then they go and think about it again. I'm really hungry, that cheese smells good. Then he might come back with a friend. His friend might look at it, nah, don't do that, bro. His friend leaves, nah. He comes back again, and then finally he bites, and that gets on his ass. And then his friend comes there and looks at it, I told you, and then he leaves. But the point is that's what Esau's trying to do. He's trying to get you to be like that mouse. Now you may reconsider a little bit, but it's still gonna be there. And eventually you're gonna get hungry enough to where you're gonna say, F it, let me just grab a bite. You're gonna be trapped. But the elect are gonna escape that. So that's why we gotta have all faith and confidence in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. That's our only means of escaping these turbulent and tribulous times. Dangerous time.
I'm going to jump a little bit here. This is Proverbs chapter 1, verse 10. It says, my son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. Now, who's the sinner? The man of sin, Esau Edom. And how is he trying to entice you? He's going to cause, the famines and things like that, take away certain things that you're used to cause you to trust in him, to cause you to come to him for the want of all things. That's why he's creating a global famine. So that way, what? One of the ways is food. Because people need to eat and drink in order to survive. People need that in order to continue going on throughout their day. So if he takes that away from you or has a lack of it, you're going to have to come to him for things. But it's not just, he's going to, when you come to him, he's just going to give it to you. There's going to be an agreement. Look, you got to take this in order for you to get this. If you want food, well, you're going to have to take this, because this is now the conditions that we're under in the times that we're at the time where the world's going to be. That's going to be the conditions. You got to take this thing that they want to put underneath your skin in order for you to get that, so we can identify who you are, that we have you in the system. So I'll read that again. It says, Proverbs 1:10, my son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. Now I'm going to jump to verse, I'll start at 15. It says, my son, walk not thou in the way with them, refrain thy foot from their path, for their feet run to evil and make haste to shed blood. It says, verse 17 is the point I want to get. Surely in vain is the net spread in the sight of any bird. So what's the net? The net is that trap, and that's what the Lord has opened our eyes to. We're seeing that net. I'll read that again. It says, verse 17, surely in vain is the net spread in the sight of any bird, which is the trap. Because the Lord has opened up our eyes to see the trap that Esau Edom has laid out for us, and now it's pretty much vain, because now we know how to avoid it, and we know now what to do, to know not to go into that way. Just to add to the brother's point.
Good point. There's more on that?
Right, I'll just read 18. It says, and they lay wait for their own blood, they lurk privately for their own lives, because they don't know that even though they think that this thought of creating this NWO is their own idea, but they don't know that the Lord's pretty much put this in their mind for their own destruction. That's why it says pretty much they lay in wait for their own blood, because this system that they're setting up is pretty much going to lead to their destruction.
That's right. Going to lead to their demise. That's right. That's right. Good stuff. Where were we?
2nd Ezra 16 and 71.
1671. Let's finish that.
2nd Ezra 16 and 71. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord.
That's right, and that's why, guess what? We're going to need that Isaiah 59 and 19. Because when they come in as a flood, like madmen, they're going to come after everybody. The only thing is, people are not going to have a defense. You may say, oh, we look crazy right now, we look stupid, we look like all of this, but guess what? At the end of the day, we're all going to be in the same situation, but we're going to have a defense, Lord willing, because we prepared, because the scriptures talk about it pleased the Most High through the foolishness of preaching. The Most High could have snapped his fingers and everybody would have woke up. But he wanted us to come out here and look like this, you know, and humble us to see who's really loyal. Who's willing to go out there in the 21st century and go out and teach my word this way, regardless of all the ridicule for me. And those that do that and truly believe it, the Lord is going to reward. Go on.
For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses.
So when you read those FEMA executive orders, guess what? Once they declare a state of emergency, FEMA owns everything you own, including you. So they can come up into your house and take your woman and take her somewhere else and take you somewhere else and take your kids somewhere else. They own your car, they own the road, they own the electricity, they own the media, they own everything. Waterways, highways, airports. Read it. It's signed legislation. And all it takes is for them to activate it, and they're gonna have that power. So they're gonna take away all your goods. Anything that you think you own, you really don't. That's why Klaus Anal Schwab came out and said, he said, basically the World Economic Forum, they're saying that you will own nothing and be happy. And they're gaining traction, but it's not like it's new. They had the power behind the scenes. Now they're just doing it publicly so that people can see it, so their name can be put out there. World Economic Forum used to be something that you would tell somebody and they would say, oh yeah, I know about one of my bros, he's into that conspiracy stuff. He was telling me, he said it's a world something like that. That's usually where you would hear terms like that. But now that world government, World Economic Forum, the known traveler program, you know, the CBDCs, all of these things are being put out on the forefront because we're living in that time. So it's coming.
Definitely they pretty much own everything now, but the farmers, you know what they did with Monsanto, they taking over private farming, and that's your agriculture, that's your food. So if they globally own your food distribution, then you know it's all type of things that go down that line of what you eating, because you know they use more cornmeal to feed the cows nowadays, so they're not even grass-fed cows anymore. You know, but by me saying that they own everything, the short phrase you said that Carl Schwab said that, he said you're gonna own nothing and nothing. So you know, pretty much that's the direction people going in right now. Don't even know.
Because they're taking everything away from you through crisis. They can't just come out and say, look, I'm gonna take your food, I'm gonna take your car. No. They have to do it through crisis. That's why you have an energy crisis. That's why now, and they're using that as a motive to push towards electric cars. You know, to tell you that throw away the all these other kinds, move on to this. Now they're gonna start pushing that carbon footprint stuff. You know? So everything is gonna be measured and controlled. And once you run out of carbon credits, you can't do anything. They're gonna shut you out. Let's finish on that.
2nd Ezra 16 and 73. Then shall they be known who are my chosen.
Right, when they start coming out after everybody, taking people out their houses and sending them to FEMA camps, they have concentration centers ready for people where they can re-educate you for society. You know, where they can throw the dissidents of society in there. But then shall it be known who are the Lord's chosen, because he's going to protect them. He's going to intervene. Like Heliodorus. Heliodorus found out who the Lord's chosen were quickly. When he went over there and the Lord sent angels to whoop his ass, he knew when he went back That's why he assassinated Seleucus when he went back. He said, "Look, man, look, my man, you sent me to a death sentence, and I came back alive. Now I'm gonna give you a death sentence. You ain't coming back alive." You know? But yeah, now that's it on that. We keep going
Oh,
to
there's a little more.
a little bit more, cause
And they shall be tried as the gold in the fire.
right. So we're gonna be tried how? Because your faith is gonna be put on the line. You're gonna be put in uncomfortable situations where you need to you're forced to show a level of faith that you haven't, or you probably didn't think you had. You know, the Lord will put you in those situations where you're either gonna be, it's gonna make you or break you, but it's gonna try you. And if you're made of gold, you're gonna come back purified. And if you're not, then you're gonna melt. Literally, if you're here. 6 and 9, come.
This is 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and
And who's Esau? Esau is the brother of Jacob when you read in the book of Genesis. And the descendants of Esau are those that are known as the so-called Europeans, Caucasians today. All right? And really, when we talk about Esau, we're really focusing on their elites. Not like the average Edomites that go about, but their elites. Meaning the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, you know, those that are at the top, the rich banking families that form up these different secret societies. Now, it's not only Esau. You have Moabite elites, you have Ammonite elites, you have Elamite elites, but the head of it all is really Esau. Okay, but when you go into these the Jesuits and the Rosicrucians and the Freemasons and the Council of Foreign Relations and the Fabian Society and all of these different groups that they have, they all are run at the head by the elites of Esau. And when you read Psalms 83, it tells you about the list of nations that have come together to make a conspiracy against us.
I know it's in Isaiah, maybe 24, it says to punch the high ones down. I'm thinking maybe Isaiah 24.
Exactly, and they're on high. And they run all these things behind the scenes. So Esau, which are these people, is the end of the world. Meaning that the end of this age is going to come through Esau. It's going to come through these devils being in power, and whatever policies and things that they're going to enact and put into place is going to lead to the bringing about of the end of this age. That's how we're able to measure these prophecies, because we know they're going to push and bring out this this MOTB, this charagma, right? This thing, this C-hip, you can spell it out, and they're going to try to put it, they're going to subdermally implant it into you. Implant to the new thing. And that's brought about by who? Esau. And we know, according to prophecy, this is one of the last major prophecies before this place gets destroyed. So through this devil, because the word devil means deceiver, and that's what he's doing, the end of this age or this rulership is going to come about. What?
And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth.
And Jacob is another name for Israel. Okay? So when it says Jacob, it's referring to the nation of Israel, but it starts with Yahushua. Because Yahushua is an Israelite. The Israelite. That's good. Let's go to, oh, you got something?
No.
All right, let's go to Revelation 13. Start at the top. And whatever precepts y'all got, you can know.
This is Revelation chapter 13 and 1.
So now we're going to deal with the path. What do we tell it? The path to the end? To the end of the world or something like that?
Yeah.
Something along those lines,
Path
right?
to the end, yeah.
Path to the end. So when we're reading it, what we're about to go into, the series of prophecies and chapters we're going to go into are events that are pending, events that are about to happen in the near future, and what is going to lead to what, which is going to lead to what, which is going to lead to what. So we're giving you the blueprint as to the future, what's about to happen. And if you are true to yourself, you have to admit that this is true. Because these things we've been saying, we were saying it at a time where you couldn't even see signs of these things. So you got to ask yourself, how did they know these things? Now, how is it that these pastors have been preaching for years, but none of them went into the scriptures like that to show us these prophecies? Because their eyes weren't open.
Right. And son, I was meditating on actually before you guys got here, is that what we're going to get into in Revelation 13 is a series of events, things that would happen that would lead to something major happening, which is the main point, the 16th verse in Revelation 13, which is the institution of that MOTB. But it's going to be a series of events when you go into certain words that's going to lead up to it. And to use an example of that is Daniel the 9th chapter. Now when you go into Daniel the 9th chapter, just to break it down real quick, it goes into how a series of events would happen when you go into about 490, and it kind of goes down a little bit, 483, 434 years. But just to be an estimate, within a period of 500 years, about a series of events of things will happen. Now, we're not saying within 500 years or a couple of years that these things will happen, but within a series of events, things will happen that would lead up to something major happening.
Right. That's right.
Because like the scripture say, no man knows the hour of the day.
So all we can really give you are the signs, but the signs can tell us, you know, how close we are, but we can't tell you it's going to be tomorrow or in 5 months or in 3 years. We don't know that.
Right, like
you know?
it says, 2nd Ezra 9, measure thou the time diligently in itself. When you see these series of events happen, you know, okay, this is past, it's getting closer and closer.
Right. All that's left is this. So now we're waiting on this.
Revelation chapter 13 and 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea.
So now who's speaking here? It's the Apostle John, right? Because the Apostle John, being one of the 12 apostles, well, I believe he was the last apostle that was left living. Basically, after or during the time of the persecution of the Christians, I believe that the Caesar at this time was Domitian. So around from anywhere from 93 to 95 AD, the Apostle John was banished to or exiled to the island of Patmos, where he received these visions. So that's why he said, and I read that again, Revelation 13.
Revelation 13 and 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea.
Because he was on an island, the salt mines, and when he was standing there, go ahead.
And I saw a beast rise up out of the sea.
So that's where he received the vision. So in his vision, he saw a beast that rose up out of the sea. Go ahead.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns.
So the Apostle John saw a beast with 7 heads and 10 horns coming up out of the sea. Go ahead.
And upon his horns 10 crowns.
And upon those horns 10 crowns. Go on.
And upon his heads the name of blasphemy.
Now, this first beast that the Apostle John saw rising up out of the sea represents the Roman Empire, the ancient pagan Roman Empire. But really, if you want to get technical with it, it represents Esau's rulership, because it started with the Greeks, and then assimilated into the Roman Empire. But it really hit its zenith or its epic during the pagan Roman Empire. So usually, that's why typically when we talk about the beast, when we talk about the first beast, we refer to the Roman Empire. Now, in the book of Revelation 13, it talks about 2 beasts. There's one beast, then it has a deadly wound, and then it gets healed and comes back again, right? So it makes it seem like it's 2 beasts, but really it's just one beast coming back, and that beast is Esau's power structure. The first beast were the Edomites ruling in the past, and then they went down for a period of time, and then they rose back up into power, known as the second beast, right?
I was going to make a point, starting with Esau, because his rulership started with the Greeks. In Greek mythology, there's something known as the Hydra. And when you cut off its head, I don't know if you remember the Hercules movie, when he fought the thing and the head kept coming back over and over.
Keeps regrowing.
Yeah, that's so basically, that's to explain your point. That's what it is. When the head's cut off, but it just comes back.
Right.
But it's the same creature.
That's right. That's right. So that first beast, so it said it had 7 heads and 10 horns. This is what the Apostle John saw, but it doesn't actually, it wasn't a literal beast. It just represents something. Just like when you watch, when you have certain dreams, you may see certain things in your dreams, but they represent things. It might not be literal, you know. Like Ezra saw an eagle, right, with different feathers and talons, and it wasn't an actual eagle. That's what he saw, but it represented something else. So this is why people can't just pick up the Bible and say, oh, this means this or this means this, because they're gonna come across a verse like that and they're gonna be stuck, and they're not gonna know what it means. They're gonna tell you it's an actual beast that's gonna come out of the Vatican. What?
That's why scripture said, Isaiah 28 and 10, precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. When you go to certain precept, it explains what you may read further along in the scriptures that it's talking about.
That's right. That's right. But you got to be skillful in the word, you know. And a lot of them, that's why a lot of these so-called pastors, they don't bring out many precepts, because they don't know which precepts to use to explain what. A lot of them don't even know that a lot of things we preach are in the scriptures. So it sounds foreign. What are you talking about? What America's in the Bible? But then when you go to the precept and you show them, they look stunned because they're like, yeah, I never saw that precept before. But he read out the book, you know. So now they got to go back. So a lot of these so-called Christians and churches, they really watch our videos, and these Edomite scholars, they watch our videos and then they see, because at the end of the day, regardless of how much you may hate somebody or you may dislike somebody, you got to admit what is what and what is not what. So when they read the scriptures, in their minds, they're thinking we're experts on it. So who the hell are these guys coming and talking about? They know what this, let me see what they got to say. And then when they start listening, they're like, that kind of makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, oh, let me go and check if what they, because they come in with the mindset of, man, I'm going to shut these guys down. Let me see what you're saying so I can shut it down. But then they realize they can't shut it down and they're shutting them down. So now they got to go back and he said, what, the America, the what? Ah, man. Then they got to take, that's why Vocab Malone is having he's trying his hardest, you know, and now he's trying to do the straw man, you know, trying to change the topic into carnal topics that he can try to use to demonize people and shit. But at the end of the day, they watch the videos, they hear it, we go into the Hebrew, we go into the meaning of words, we go into prophecy, and they, in their theological seminary schools and all of that, they don't learn that. So there are questions that they have, but they don't. Matter of fact, when we go into the breakdown of the book of Genesis, anybody that's a so-called Christian will come up and tell you, oh, you ask them, okay, you an expert on the scripture? Oh, yeah, I've been doing this for 25 years. You know, I've been a pastor, reverend, whatever you want in the book, I've done it. So you ask him, break it down. What's the book of Genesis all about? Oh, well, God created one man, he created a woman, he put Adam to sleep, he pulled out 3 of his ribs, put it inside, took some clay, and he put human ribs in the clay, he molded it, and then she became a woman. Then that's it. And then you have Cain and Abel, and then that's the story of Adam and Eve. Then you ask him, okay, so how do we get to where we're at now from Adam and Eve if it was just one man and one woman? When Cain killed Abel, where did Cain get his wife from? Oh, I see what you mean there. That's a very good question. They don't have answers, you know. Cain did. It does say he went and he found a wife. I mean, it can't be Eve, right? Well, don't ask me, you know. So these are things that they can't explain because they never thought about it. But then when you come and we go into the breakdown, they might listen to it and say, no, that's not right. Then they're gonna go home and think about it. Shit, creative man. I mean, that's the only other explanation, right? How could you have all these people alive if he only created one man and one woman? I mean, yeah, Abel is dead. Cain is not there. You know, where did Seth come from? Where did Seth's wife come from? Where did the chosen line, where did they all come from? How did the world get populated from just one man and one woman? Then oh man, these guys, they did explain it the correct way, you know? Because the truth is the truth, and the scriptures say we can do nothing against the truth but for the truth. So you can't help it. You may not like us, but you can't deny the fact that what we're teaching is true. That's why they all come against us, because they're going into the Bible unlike anybody else I've ever seen go into it before. How do they know all of this? They're not supposed to know all of this. They're supposed to be selling drugs on the street corners and shooting each other and all that. How do they know all this? Because the Spirit of the Lord is working.
Typical reaction is they wind up saying, God bless y'all and walk away.
Right.
But the wicked flee when no man pursues.
That's it.
So, you know, y'all claiming yourself to be wicked. Y'all deeming yourself wicked because instead of trying to stay and deal and get some understanding, they'll cut what they listening to short and be like, okay, I gotta go, y'all brothers take care.
Right.
Y'all know y'all stuff though. Y'all know y'all stuff, but it's like you're trying to really mock the word because you don't want to get full understanding. You just got shut down or debunked or whatever, and now it's like the pride kicks in and make them want to stay a few seconds longer and then leave humbly. But you know what it is. You don't want this knowledge because you really want to suppress it.
11 and 7.
Because, you know, the church has got a 501c3 plan. Like, they are taught, I mean, they paid to not reveal this information. That's why most of them be Masons.
Yeah, they are. And in the book, Satan's Angels Exposed, it tells you that a lot of these pastors, these so-called pastors, they're literally witches and warlocks. They are literally not somebody that's practicing. No, they're actual witches and warlocks that come and pose as pastors because they if a professional witch becomes a pastor, he knows exactly what not to tell you and exactly what to tell you in order to confuse you and keep you stuck. That's what they do. But yeah, bring that out real quick, because just like the brother was saying, sometimes somebody will come up and they'll listen for a bit, but then remember that the Lord has it to where, and I think in Isaiah, what is it, Isaiah 6, where it says make their that they, you know, yeah. So yeah, they're yep, and their ears heavy, yep. Because ultimately what the Lord is doing is saying, they come up, they start listening, and then as they start listening and their pineal gland starts to open up and hear something, then the angel says, no, close that thing and take his ass out elsewhere. Because that's when the Lord said, nope, take that away. Because if they listen any longer and they start to get convinced, they just might receive it. And the Lord's like, no, that's somebody I don't want to receive it. Send them down the street.
So the Shai said the parable of the sower.
The seeds?
Yeah, with the Matthew 13. Then cometh the wicked one that take away that which was sown in his mind.
Right.
We had that example a couple of weeks ago with the woman that was listening here, and then the other Israelite woman just took her away.
I think I remember what you're talking about. Yeah.
It happened like 3 weeks ago.
Because that's what Satan does. He sees that, he's looking, he might be standing right in the cut. Or he might be like roaming about, as the scripture said, right? Like a roaring lion. And then he might hear the word coming out. Them demons are always alert. They want to snatch souls away. So he's going in it. Oh, what's that? Oh, shoot, there's a person listening? So he's seeing, in the spirit, he's seeing the information being transferred, the KT, the knowledge transfer, right? So he's seeing the spiritual knowledge going, and he's seeing this person receiving it. So then what he does is say, no. And he jumps in slow motion, and he grabs that information and pushes and said, no, go down the street. You can't have this.
Basically a spiritual, I was going to say, basically a spiritual cock blocker.
That's it.
You talking to a chicken and then somebody come up, hey, so why are you talking to him for, man? You know me. Or if you watch, recently watched Friday After Next, Day Day and Craig, when he was trying to talk to that chicken, and Day Day always cock blocking coming in between.
But that's a known fact. I was just thinking about that the other day when, just for sport playing around, got a number, and the number wasn't even the right number. So I was like, that's the Lord blocking that whole ordeal, because you never know where that person, how you go down dealing with certain people.
Right.
But whatever chain event happened that's supposed to work out for you and it don't, that may be a good thing, but it's all the Lord doing. And precept we were talking about right here in Isaiah chapter 6, verse 10.
So this is what the Lord is telling Isaiah, right?
Yes.
Hmm?
He said, we'll take it from 9. And he said, go and tell this people, hear ye indeed, but understand not.
So he says, go and tell them, hear ye indeed. So they hear what we're saying. Obviously, they can hear us speaking, but they can't understand. So they can hear us going into, they'll hear the verse, they'll hear us speaking, but for it to click and connect in from their ears to their brain to their pineal and all of this, the Lord he's put a block over there. Go on.
And see ye indeed, but perceive not.
See ye indeed, but perceive not. So they see, and they like, when you tell somebody something, they're like, oh, I can see what you're saying. I see what you mean, right? You don't actually see what I mean, but it may be, again, you do in your mind's eye. So they see, but they don't perceive. Because once again, there's a block over there. Go on.
Verse 10. Make the heart of this people fat and make their ears heavy.
And the word heart in the Hebrew is lav, which means your mind. So make it fat, meaning make it slow, so that they can't receive, this word. Because the scriptures say that you got to receive the word mixed with faith. So what the Lord has did is he's blocked their mind. So that's why all they care about is just doing vain things. Their attention span is not even long enough to stop for a few minutes and properly receive the true knowledge of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai.
Right. And make their ears heavy and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears.
So a part of the jobs of the angels are for those who the Lord does not want to understand this. That's why we say it's only for those that can receive it. This is not for everybody. We're not going to come and force this down your throat. That's all right. You don't have to believe this. And our job isn't to make you believe it. Our job is to just give out the message, because there are some that will believe it. So as the brother's reading, some of the angels' job is to make sure people don't receive this. So when you tell somebody and you explain it to them and they can't understand it, that's because there's an angel whose job it is to shut their minds and make their hearts fat so they can't understand what you're teaching them. Go on.
All right. And understand with their heart and convert and be healed.
Right, so understand with their what? With their mind, and convert and be healed, like us. We understood with our mind, that gotta be, that's the truth. Yeah, that makes sense. And we converted, meaning that we stopped all the wicked things we were doing in the world, eating pork, doing all manner of things that are against the scriptures, and we converted, we changed, all right, from those wicked ways to the righteous ways, and we were what? Healed. But the Lord said here, no, I don't want them to be healed. So block them. Because if you don't, they're going to hear it, they're going to understand it, they're going to convert, and they're going to be healed, and I don't want that. So the Most High says that this ain't for everybody because I don't want to give it to everybody. So this is exclusive, but that's the Most High's will. It's his esoteric knowledge. So let's go, Romans 11:7. Yeah, let's bring that up.
This is Romans chapter 11 and 7. What then? Israel have not obtained that which he's seeking for.
So what is it that everybody is ultimately seeking for? It's really, in a nutshell, the truth, because it encompasses everything. So that's why you have people of all different faiths, and you have Israelites in all different faiths, beliefs, and religions, because they all believe that that's the truth to them. They're all seeking, everybody believes that they know the Most High. Everybody believes that their God is the God, that the Most High is dealing with them, that the way they serve the Most High is the correct way. Now, if that's what you believe, I can't fault you for it, because that's what you believe. I can't change that, Now, I believe otherwise, but everybody is seeking something. But as it says, Israel have not obtained that which he seeketh for, but what?
But the election have obtained it. And
so the majority of Israelites did not receive this truth. That's why they ended up in these other beliefs and religions. But the elect hath obtained it. The elect are the ones that are going to understand these scriptures and believe it. Go ahead.
And the rest were blinded.
And the rest were blinded. That's why, like we read in Isaiah, they were blinded so they can't receive the word. So it goes in one ear, but it comes out the other ear because the Lord has blocked them so they can't understand the scriptures. So it's not for everybody because the Most High set it up that way. That was it on that?
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to Revelation.
Yeah, when I first came in, I was like, Broad Market is very busy, and it's like a lot of traffic, a lot of people. And I used to be upset, like, yo, why y'all not stopping and listening, trying to get right, especially when they doing on like dealing on the corners and shit right across from us. None of them brothers came over to stop and listen. But then eventually, after this go by, you like, okay, it's being done, the work is being done. Either you want to send somebody here, or that's it. Either we just continue. We could go the whole 2-3 hours with nobody stopping, or nobody, trying to get the word. But we good. You know what I'm saying?
It's all the Spirit of the Lord. Yeah, it's all the Spirit of the Lord. The Lord sends anybody that comes by that listens, the Most High sends them. That's why the scriptures say man's goings of the Lord. So you may plan to go somewhere, but if you end up somewhere else, you're like, yo, how many times has it happened to us where we teaching and then somebody comes up, and I remember in Elizabeth, somebody, they'll come up and they'll stop. Some people somebody might go forward and then come back.
Yep.
Like the two so-called Jewish women that came by a couple weeks ago. They were walking, they looked at the sign, which is why it's important that you have the sign, and then they went and they stopped and came back. They said, no, sign. But something prompted them in their mind to stop and go back and come and ask a question.
We have an example, although those of you on the live stream can't see it, but Jake just walked past, and as you said, man's going on the Lord. I looked at his feet. You can kind of see like his feet want to come back, but it's like he's still going forward. But it's like you can tell, like once he heard that man's going on the Lord, anybody that comes here, the Lord brought, I can feel it and see in his feet like he wanted to come back, but it's like because you got that pride. It's like I ain't turning.
Yeah.
But it's like.
For y'all out there in the YouTube world, quick precept, because that testimony just happened, but it's going to be a time when the Lord will move us. So, you know what I'm saying? He's going to remove us from these highways and byways. Then y'all, but here's the precept for that. It's Isaiah 55:6. Seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near. So you know, the Lord may put it on your spirit, but if the Lord bless you, you gonna come here, and you need to find them before it's too late. You know what I'm saying? Don't just because he might give you like a few steps and hold your hand to the gate that you need to go through, but then it's up to you to take that for what it's worth. You know what I'm saying? Because the Lord gonna give you that as if you're gonna take this and you're gonna keep it sincere and dear to you.
Right.
You know, like you said, seek him while he may be found, seek him while he's near. Right now he's near, he's giving y'all grace and mercy right now by letting us be out here. You know? When the time comes, we're not gonna be out here and we ain't gonna be able to get the word or get the instruction that you need to deal with these last days.
Yep.
I was thinking about
Let's get that. Oh yeah, family of the word. That's it. That's it. Yeah, the time is gonna come. I mean, believe it or not, people are gonna be looking for us. They're gonna be looking. Why? Because all of a sudden those crazy people are not crazy anymore. They were only crazy when things weren't crazy. But when things got crazy, then they were normal. Because now they were crazy and things are crazy. So now that matches. But now we gotta find out what to do. Right? Wait, so what was it that y'all was saying? I was saying that this, that. But that's how the Lord works. You know, you either get down now or you don't. And that's it. And you ain't gonna be able to find us because once we take these garments off, you can't. We're just like regular people going about in the street, like regular individuals. So unless you know us personally, how are you gonna, unless the Lord have mercy on you, you out there by yourself.
you gotta remember faces. Like you see so many faces, like, damn, what did he look like?
Right. Yeah.
And you might see someone, I know that this guy's have beard, but you can't just go out. A lot of people have beards now. So it's like, you
Exactly. I was just about
you
to
might
say
say, run up to a person, like, oh, you an Israelite? It's like, nah, bro, I ain't with that.
What are you talking about, man? Yep. But you know what? You might see an actual prophet, and then the Lord might put the spirit on him to do that to you. Oh, I know you one of them teachers, man. What are you talking about, man? I don't know what you're talking about. And then just walk away. And here it is. Later on, you go and you find the video. No, that was him, but he ain't there no more. So that's the thing. Like now, it's like it's freely open, but in that time, it's gonna be near impossible. And I've had dreams like that during the famine of the word, where somebody came to ask me, and I remember, I believe it was I was trying to find Jeremiah 14:2 about the Jerusalem, the Jews being dark skinned, and I remember I was talking to this person. And I opened my scriptures, but Jeremiah 14:2 did not exist in the Bible. It wasn't there. I would just go through, and I'm like, there's Jeremiah 13 and there's Jeremiah 15, but 14 is not in here. And so I was like, oh, shoot. When I woke up, it hit me like, yeah, I knew it was there, but then I couldn't give it to them. I couldn't show it to them. So I had it, but they couldn't receive it no matter what. That's how the Lord set it up.
I got the Amos, but I got this as well.
All right.
This is Ezekiel 3:26.
Break it down.
And I will make thy tongue cleave to the roof of thy mouth, that thou shalt be dumb, and shall not be a reprover, shall not be to them a reprover. I was just thinking of what you just said, because what? You looking for Isaiah, or what was it, Jeremiah 17? 14. And what? That's like, where is it? Where? And you like,
It's supposed to be
like you have it up here, but it's like, for me to like really think, it's like,
Yep.
so it's like you said, and I'll make thy tongue cleave to the roof of thy mouth. Now, if you actually try to put your tongue on the roof of your mouth, you can't talk. You're going to...
That's how you're going to sound, yeah.
That thou shalt be dumb. And like the brother was explaining, when he couldn't find that chapter, it was like, bro, why can't you find chapter? You've been going through this Bible all the time.
Exactly, yep.
Now all of a sudden, they're going to say, you acting stupid now. Like, what's up with
exactly,
you?
Yeah. Yep.
And thou shalt not be to them a reprover, for they are a rebellious house. So that in that time, that's when the Lord's going to shut our mouths to where we can't speak. Whether he hides us or whether he, like the brother said, you can't find. So you might be like, that sometimes happens to me when I'm looking for a scripture when I'm doing the video. I'm like, why am I blind? Like, why can't I see this? And I'm like, damn. Then later on it comes and okay, there it is.
Yep. And the Lord might just have it to where we just don't want to tell you anything. Because it's not by force. You might come up and we might tell you, go to the buyers and sell. Go to the sellers and buy. Go find, I don't know, go find it somewhere. Find it somewhere, but there's nowhere else. Well, that's a shame.
Right, and 2/3 gotta be judged, so y'all can't be on some Jake shit and try to get it at the last moment, like waiting, like y'all got time. Jake always waiting to the last minute to do shit. So they gonna try to wait for the last minute and then jump right on it. Like, if they knew that we was gonna be out here for a point in time, they'll wait until that last day to be like, all right, I'm gonna listen for the whole 2 hours so I could get saved.
Yeah.
And I said, I lie. The Lord is not dealing like that. He wants you to get it on your own terms. When He put it on you to do it, like the brother probably got it because the Lord made him stop. He actually stopped, but the stuttering, like he being pulled away, is like, well, I gave you the opportunity right there,
Right.
and you didn't take it. You know what I'm saying? So that's him allowing him to be like, nah, you ain't fit for the to be a prophet. So just keep it moving.
And he took a picture of the sign, but the sign isn't enough because let's say we're taking up the street corners tomorrow, then what? Were you gonna just look at the sign and go, okay, well, this is enough? No. There's more to it than just the sign.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, look. At the end of the day, the Most High is gonna have mercy on who He's gonna have mercy on. But the Scripture says you gotta seek His salvation from fear and trembling. And so, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going, like the brother said, you're not going to understand everything in the Scriptures by just passing by and say, hey, peace, peace. You know. I mean, if you already know what's going on, then you're good. But if you don't, we're not here just so you, oh, I agree, oh, peace, and then go. No, you agree, okay, fine, you say peace, you agree, that's cool and dandy. When the MOTV comes out, what are you going to do? Do you know what that is? Do you know what you are supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do? Do you have knowledge on this? That's why we're out here, to give you that information. Saying peace and walking by is not going to do you any good. We're good. We have the information. We're here to give out the information. Our job, the reason we're out here is because the Most High said, look, if you don't go out there and teach, that's your ass. Especially because you know the truth. So that's why we out here, because the Most High has commanded us to. But when we already have the information on what we're supposed to know, you need it. We have it. What else you got?
This is Amos 8 and 11. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord power, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord.
Now, there is going to be an actual famine of bread and thirst for water. But what the Lord is saying here is, I'm not talking about a literal famine for this verse. But the famine is going to be of hearing the words of the Lord. And how do you hear the words of the Lord? Through His prophets, through the mouth of His men.
And that's terrible, because it's not only physical food He's taken away, or lack of it, it's spiritual.
Right.
And what did Yahweh Shai said? Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of the Most High. That's how you can be sustained. That's how you can, that what keeps you going.
Mm-hmm.
But without that, it's like, so now you ain't got no food, actual food, and you ain't got the spiritual food.
Right.
So it's like, damn, you double fucked.
You're screwed on top of screwed, you know? Go on.
Verse 12, and they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord, and shall not find it.
Right, so they're going to be looking for the men of the Lord. They're going to be looking on the internet. They're going to be looking in person, because that's how desperate they're going to be for information. And that shows you how bad it's going to get out here. But as it says, they're not going to find it. Because Second Ezra, the 5th chapter, tells you that the Lord's wit shall hide itself, and understanding withdraw itself into the secret chambers. It shall be sought of many and not be found. So you better take advantage now, because all the things we're telling you, they're going to come to pass. And you're going to be out there wishing you had taken heed and listened, but it's going to be too late. That was good on that? Let's go back to Revelation 13.
Revelation chapter 13 and 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Which is the ancient Roman Empire, and the 7 heads represented 7 bodies, right? Seven different locations that Rome conquered that made it an empire. Because as Rome started off as a city in Italy, in Latium, and then it started, you know, you had like the Samnite Wars. It started to conquer the neighboring lands, and it started to expand until the boot of Italy. And then, I believe, where's that, Sicily, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere along those lines. But then eventually, they got into it with the Phoenicians, which they called them Punic or Punis, which is where you get the Punic Wars from. And that was Rome going against Africa, which they were, you had Jakes among them, but they were going back and forth, because at that time the Phoenicians had they were superior. What's that? What they call them? Seafaring people. So the Punic Wars was when Rome was expanding, and they had to take over the Phoenician colonies and all of that, and eventually they beat them. You had the Second Punic War with Hannibal coming against them, which he did a good job, but because according to prophecy, Rome had to become that superpower, he ended up failing. Then he went and joined Antiochus III and tried to help him and all that. But then you had Rome basically conquer. Eventually, they took over the Greeks, they took over Hispania, they took over the Franks or Gaul, they took over Germania Major, Germania Minor, they took over Britain or Britannia. So all plus Rome itself. So these are the 7 heads, all right, which are the 7 regions that were taken over. They were like assimilated into the Roman Empire, for lack of a better word. Okay, and then you would have Rome would set up consuls or proconsuls over these different regions. So they became different bodies that were part of the Roman Empire. All right. So the beast is not an actual animal, but it represented an empire or a rulership. Go ahead.
And upon his horns 10 crowns.
So he had 10 horns. So in essence, the 7 heads were on a larger level, and then the 10 horns were on a more detailed level. So what do I mean by that? You have regions, right? For example, you have like the East Coast, and then within the East Coast, you got different, states. Or you may have New York or New York City, but then within New York City, you got Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, all these different regions. So you can think of the head as like New York or New York City, and then you could think of the horns as like the Bronx or Queens or the boroughs. So in this sense, when you go into the 10 horns were different regions located within the 7 heads. So in Hispania, I believe you had like the Ostrogoths and Visigoths around that region. You had the Franks, which are part of the 10 horns, and they were in the area of Gaul. You had Anglo-Saxons, which were in the area of Britannia. So the 10 horns were different regions within the 7 heads. Rakata. So like, for example, you may have Europe, and then you may have France, Germany, Belgium, Luxembourg, all these different regions. Go on. Yeah, and I mean, it's impossible to remember everything in the scriptures, but you have, for the 10 horns, they had ancient names, just like I called Hispania, today is known as Spain. Then you had Gauls or Franks, which today is known as France. You had Britannia, which today is known as Britain. Germania, which today is known as Germany. Okay, and so on and so forth. So just like that, you have today, the 10 horns are known as the European Union. They started off as 10, and then they expanded and grew. But in the ancient world, they had ancient names. What was it? Vandals, Anglo-Saxons, Lombards, Heruli. That's it. That's right. That's how you do it. Burgundians, whichever. So those were the 10 horns of the ancient world, because that's what it's talking about, right? It's talking about the beast that first rose up, the first beast. Go on. And this is history. So in order to know this, you got to study history. Meaning that if you want to understand the Bible, you got to know history. So we don't just pick up the book and make things up. We got to, you read in this verse, okay, well, this is talking about the time of the Apostle John. So I got to go back and learn some history about the Roman Empire. Who was the Caesar? What were the different Caesars? What is a Caesar? How did Rome become an empire? What happened after Domitian fell? What was the Nerva-Antonine dynasty all about? When did Rome fall? All of these things. Man, this place gotta go, man. But the mother of harlots, the abomination of abominations. You got it.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns.
Right, meaning they had power, they had rulership. Go on.
And upon his heads the name of blasphemy.
Because the Romans, prior to Constantine coming and turning Rome into the Holy Roman Empire, all these things, bringing Christianity and so on and so forth, Rome were pagans. The Romans were pagans, so they didn't respect the God, the power of the Most High, the God of the Israelites. They didn't respect that. So that's why I said it's having the name of blasphemy, because they were doing acts that were blasphemous against the name of the Most High, or against anything that was called holy. Go on. Well, worshiping other gods. What they call that? Saturnalia. You know, Easter. Go on.
Verse 2. And the beast, sorry. My bad. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear.
So this is why we said it started off with the Greeks, because the leopard represents the Greeks. When you go to the book of Daniel, I believe it's the 7th chapter, it also talks about the and matter of fact, you can actually figure this out via history. Because if you understand Daniel 7, then you will understand this verse. In Daniel 7, Daniel was given a vision of different beasts that rose up one after another, and those different beasts represented different world empires that would reign in succession of each other. So you had the Assyrians, or the Assyrio-Babylonians, right? Assyria, then Babylon. And history tells you that who took down the Babylonians? The Persians, okay? And who took down the Persians? The Greeks. And who took down the Greeks? The Romans. So when you follow the beast, you see that in the book of Daniel, the leopard is what represents the Greeks. So when you come back here in Revelation 13, you know that, oh, okay, well, it said that the head, was it the head, or it started off?
Verse 2. And the beast, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard.
Was like unto a leopard, which represents the Greeks, because their empire really started with the Greeks. All right? And Alexander being that first king of Grecia. Go on.
And his feet were as the feet of a bear.
So now the feet will be the end of it. Because if you look at somebody, you start with their head, eventually where do you stop? You stop at their feet. And the feet were like the feet of a bear, which the bear represents Russia. That was their symbol. Okay? So the bear represents Russia, the leopard represents the Greeks. And why is it saying that? Because ultimately they started off with the Greeks. If you look at their body, they started off with the Greeks, then the Romans, then the Roman Empire went down for a bit, but then came back into power, you know, during the Renaissance period, where you had the European nations, Britain, you had Spain, you had France, and then eventually, you know, you had America, the European Union, and then ultimately Esau's power is going to end with the Russians. Why the Russians? Because the Russians are going to play a major role in destroying the system and bringing about the end of the system. That's why the feet is likened onto the bear. Go ahead. It doesn't mean that the bear, which is Russia, is a part of the beast, but it means that the bear is going to help bring about the end of the beast.
It's also representing in the later times of modern day Babylon, it's representing an empire, but Russia is a big nation of Edomites, but they are the only ones that's a formidable opponent for this place. That's why it's a standoff. Like nobody is really pressing that button just yet, because they know what it ultimately leads to. So this chess game that they're playing, it's the Lord's doing, but you know they both got a respect for each other's, you know, military.
God, they call it MAD, mutually assured destruction.
Right.
Because they know if I shoot nuclear missiles, they got nuclear missiles. It's over for everybody. But the Lord is still going to make them do it. And that's the point they're reaching now. Because Russia, once Russia feels threatened, they're going to unleash hell. But something is going to happen that's going to trigger this war. And it tells you that in the book of Jeremiah, that it's going to involve, you know, the small hats over there, the 48ers or whatever, you know, and Iran. So you got to watch them. And Turkey, because Turkey is going to be on the side of Russia, and so is Iran, and so is China, and Ethiopia, and Libya. And that, how do we know that? Because it's written in the scriptures, it's prophecy. So somebody might come and say, oh, well, I don't believe that's true. Okay, so you tell me what's going to happen. Or I don't know what's going to happen. So how do you know that's not true? Ask yourself that. No, that's not true. You're reading that from the Bible. Okay. Can you tell me how World War III is going to go down? Is World War III going to happen? I don't know. Well, if you don't know what's going to happen, how do you know that's not true? You tell somebody, yo, what's 2 + 2 is 4. Now, that's not true. Okay, what's 2 plus 2? I don't know. I don't even know addition. How the hell can you tell me 2 plus 2 is not 4 if you don't even know addition? So they can tell you what isn't, but they can't tell you what is. But that doesn't make sense. In order to know what isn't, you need to know what is, right? In order to know a lie, you need to know the truth. What?
Continue in verse 2, Revelation chapter 13, verse 2. And his mouth as the mouth of a lion.
Which represented the Britain. The Britain. It represented Britain, which is a part of the power of Esau. Go ahead.
And the dragon gave him his power.
And even when you look on the symbol for, I believe it was England, at some point you could see it was a lion standing up. And it looked like that. It had one paw up here, one paw up here, and it looked like a lion standing up. Just like at one point, Russia's symbol was the bear. That's not by coincidence that they chose those symbols. Go on.
And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
Which the dragon represents the Roman Empire as well. It ultimately represents Esau's power structure, you know. But in order to give life onto, or give power onto the beast, ultimately the dragon in this verse also represents their elites. Because just like back then, they had elites back then, just like they have elites now, that were behind the scenes pulling the strings, making things happen, just like they have in this time. Okay? Go ahead.
Verse 3. And I saw one of his heads as it was wounded to death.
So we know the 7 heads of the Roman Empire were the Greeks, Rome itself, the Spanish, the French, Germania Major, Germania Minor, and Britannia. These are 7 heads. Now it says I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded unto death. That one head that was wounded unto death was the Roman Empire, was Rome itself. Wounded unto death, meaning that Esau being in power as the Romans, when Jake started coming up in there, when Israelites came up in there, that power that Esau had fell. He lost that. Okay, which Jake really started coming up in there after Domitian, right? During when Nerva came up in there, because they were Israelites. But the great fall didn't really happen up until the time of Constantine, you know, which was around what 320 something around there, 325 or so AD. And they fell. Esau completely fell out of power. The Roman Empire became the Holy Roman Empire, and then eventually it became split, because you had the Eastern Roman Empire and then the Western Roman Empire. And that's when I believe it was Constantine that changed the capital of Rome to Byzantium. That's you have the Byzantine Empire. Well, the capital was Byzantium, which is I believe around the Hellespont, which is a point where you can go from Asia Minor up into Europe. There's a little point in there where you can cross over, and they call that the Hellespont. So Byzantium, I believe, was around there. And then eventually the Eastern Roman Empire fell down. But I believe the Eastern Roman Empire went longer than the West, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, the West
fell first, right?
The East continued, which you were talking about with the Byzantine Empire and all that. And then eventually that's when later on Esau
came up and took it. Yeah, because the West started to get overran by the different Vandals and all these different Germanic tribes. They basically eventually came back and took over that part.
Which is funny because the West fell, which we're living on the western side of the earth. That's it. But the East continued. Although they were going off, but still it's funny how the East continued, which was Israelites movement.
Yep. And then that's what they call the Dark Ages. When you go into, matter of fact, can we look that up? Anybody that got a phone, just type in Dark Ages on Google and see what comes up. Because they'll teach you in school, they'll tell you about the Dark Ages, but they don't really tell you much about the Dark Ages. They don't. They just tell you, oh, the Dark Ages, it was a period where things were just quiet. It was just the church, you know, and just things were just dark. And then during the Renaissance time was the Enlightenment period. No. That is false. It wasn't no Enlightenment, as if nobody knew anything until the Renaissance.
Yeah, well, Wikipedia is kind of shabby.
What they saying? Let's pick up what they're saying and let's just dissect it.
All right. The Dark Ages is a term for the early Middle Ages, or occasionally the entire Middle Ages in Western Europe after the fall of Western Roman Empire. that characterizes it as marked by economic, intellectual, and cultural decline.
Exactly, but that's why I said that it was wounded onto death. So it lost that power. And when it was wounded onto death, during the period of the Dark Ages, what happened? You had dark-skinned men, Israelites, that were ruling in Rome. The Caesars, the Augusti, as they call them, they were Israelites. Septimius Severus, Constantine, all these people, they were Israelites. Commodus, that's something?
Yeah, follow this on Instagram. I'm pretty sure brothers have seen this before, but I'll play it so you can see it and hear it, and I'll let y'all see it.
People came to Africa. They came showing themselves as superior to the black people, taking out things that black people taught them. You know, what we don't have in our history books is that the civilization we have in Europe today was brought to us by black people. Even black people don't know that. Even many black people don't know that. They don't know that the Moors, they were West Africans and North Africans and Central Africans that came to Europe and ruled Spain. They brought civilization to us. They showed us how to use soap, how to be clean, how to behave like a decent human being, you know? All these things we didn't know that before the Moors brought civilization to Spain. Did you know that the Moors ruled in Spain for 700 years? Where is that in our history books? It's nowhere to be found. Because why? If you are giving black people that power of having once ruled over white people, wouldn't black people start like?
And that's where it cuts off, and it shows a couple of things. But yeah.
But she got it right, because they'll, you know, now here's the thing, right? They talk about the Moors. The Moors were Israelites, okay? But what they do is they confuse religion with nationality. Because when they say Moors, they think of Islam, Muslims. The Moors were, being a Muslim is not a nationality, it is a religion. Just like practicing, I don't know, Christianity or Buddhism, it's a religion, it's a practice. But who were the individuals practicing this religion? They were Israelites that were practicing or that had the practice of Islam. Those were the Moors. So at that time, yes, they did rule Spain, Granada, Spain. They're the ones who came up, you know, they had the Shahs and the different rankings, but they're the ones who had Europe in an advanced state. And for that period of you know, somewhat of 1,000 years, you had Israelites that painted their images. You had when you look at the Russian icons, those are images of dark people. You have that's when you have images of the saints. They were dark skinned. Mary, she was dark. The Lord, the Yahushua, he was dark. All of that was there. But what happened when Esau came up into power, right, with King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, Christopher Columbus? Because it really started with Spain. When they came, and what they did was they kicked out the Moors from Granada, Spain, back down into North Africa, Morocco and all that area, and they pushed them out of Spain and took over what they had. And just like that, you also had black or Israelites that were ruling in Europe, in England, in Scotland, in Ireland, and all of that. You can look up the Stuart Kings. The Stuart Kings is the line where King James comes from, and those were dark-skinned people up until around the time of Oliver Cromwell, who basically came up and he basically tried to wipe out that nobility class and flip it over. And then he started sending Israelites over to the western coast of Africa, as well as sending Israelites over here as slaves.
All right, if I may say, the Vatican suppresses the truth, because inside their temple there's a statue of the Mother Mary holding, a black Mother Mary holding the black baby.
Yeah, they call it the Black Madonna.
It's like they know, and their subliminal lessons or whatever they spell that they put on the rest of the world. When they have their rituals, they go in those temples and pray to those statues, because they know who the chosen people of the Lord is.
Yeah, so I have a book on it, and it says in the book that the Black Madonna and things like that, they have it hidden in the back, but they have the white icons and everything in the front that you can see. Yeah. But when they have their ceremonies, they go in the back and they pray to it. Yeah. And so the book, it says, like, why do you have this in the back there? Why is it more, like the book says, African things brought out? Why isn't there more dark skinned stuff brought? And anytime you ask any Edomite questions, they act like they don't want to know, have any answers anyway.
Yeah, because ultimately what's going to happen? There's a certain reaction that's going to happen in the world when they see that truth. So that's why they hide it. But that's why we're such a problem for them, because now there's no point in them hiding it, because the same effect that they were trying to avoid is what we are pushing out onto the people, which is by giving them the truth. So now they're like, damn, we spent all this money to hide the truth from these people, but now these guys have come out and they're bringing out the same information we spend tons of money trying to hide, you know? So there's no going around it. But truth is truth, and history tells you that. If you actually do your studies, you will understand what we're talking about. But if you don't do your studies, you can't just come out and say, oh, that's not true, or you guys are crazy. You're ignorant. You're speaking from an ignorant point of view. You need to go and actually do your research before you come and speak on something. Because when you speak on something you don't know about, you're speaking from an ignorant point of view. You're speaking from your emotions. What you're saying is not it's not objective, it's subjective. And it's subjective to your opinion. Right? Because you'll say, no, this is true. Well, that's based on what I think truth is. No, you got to go on what is the standard of actual truth.
And what's heavy is Revelations and Daniel is speaking about historical events that y'all professors teach in y'all schools,
Right.
in y'all colleges, and even in public schools during the social studies dealing with history. Those accounts of what's being spoken of in the Bible is actual things that y'all know to be true. So how can y'all deny when the Bible is mentioning past tense events that y'all believe to be true, and it coincides with prophecy according to the beast and the dragon and what's being brought out in Revelation 13.
Good point, yeah, like to add to what the brother was saying. I remember watching the 300 movie in social studies school in high school. I didn't know you just watching the action, like, oh yeah, you know, when Leonidas had the spear, and was just throw it at him, like, kill that motherfucker.
They
We
made a
just,
lesson out of it.
yeah,
This is teachers.
yeah,
for
they
the
watched,
history.
yeah, we made us watch the 300 movie. And you know, you see Leonidas throw this, kill that motherfucker.
Got the shield and shit. Boom.
Yeah, you know, watching it for, you know, action.
Yeah.
Not knowing that when, you know, brothers break it down, the Daniel's chapter, you know, 2:7. Like, hold up. I mean, that movie that I was watching, that's real?
That's it.
Like, that's in the scriptures?
Mm-hmm. Yep. They get like the apostle was going into, a lot of this, they'll take historical events, but then they'll take biblical stories and events and put it together, like the 300. Why 300? Why 300 men? Because when you read about it, it's an actual historical event that happened, the Battle of Thermopylae, I believe, which is the Battle of the Hot Gates, and that happened. And they had the 300 actually lost. The Spartans actually lost it, but it never said that they were just 300 men. You know, they were the Spartans going against the Persians, and then they got betrayed by one of them. But the point is that why pick 300 men? Where'd you get that idea from? You know, and you can't say you got it by yourself, because the story of Gideon was already there. It was already written. You know, the Lord said, "God, no, you got too many people. Beat them down to 300." You know, and there's many other stories that they take because they know what sells. You know, what really gets a lot of people is these stories, because the stories in the scriptures, these are literally stories that are directed by the Most High, and there's no better director. So if they want to get hits, they got to basically go and take some of the Most High's ideas and stories, and they got to come and put it in these movies. Shazam, you know, say my name and my power is going to flow through you. Godzilla.
The Matrix Reloaded when Neo's fighting all them Smiths, basically Samson.
Yep. Super strength. Where did super strength come from?
The Elders of the Impossible, Superman, Kal-El.
Kal-El, yep, all power.
Kal-El.
Yep. Where did they get all that? You know? All these concepts, they're from super strength, super speed. When you read in the scriptures, it tells you about Asahel, how he was and Benjamin, how they were swift on the feet. But it says like he could run like a hind, like hind speed. He was super fast. You know? So they take those concepts, then they exaggerate, they stretch it out a bit, and then they throw it out to the public, and people, yeah.
With Gad, the Flash, basically.
Yeah,
Fast
yeah.
and moves,
Speed,
dodging the bullets.
Yep. You know?
They
So they
probably
get
said,
it from
this
here.
guy's like the fucking Flash.
They get it all from the scriptures, and that's why like you take like people like vocab, they gotta speak about us in order to get if they want views, they gotta put us in the title or say something about us because that what they say about it. Because they know that everybody's waiting for somebody to try and come up and just conquer us. That's what they're waiting for. They're like, man, these guys, somebody needs to go out there and go and get them. But everybody that comes keeps failing. They keep failing. So they all, the next person to jump up, they're like, hey, what do you got to say? Oh, you found something new? Oh, no, that's the same thing. Man, get out
It's
of here.
not about the truth. It's about seeing someone fall.
Yep. But that's why, like Gamaliel said in the book of Acts, you got to let these men alone because this may be the work of the Most High. Lest you find yourself fighting against the Most High. You can't win against the Most High, crazy. But let's go back.
So I'll go back to verse 3. Revelation chapter 13, verse 3. And
Yeah,
I-
this is why it's like it's almost impossible to go through chapter breakdowns on the when we come up because the scriptures say that the spirit is like a wind. So it you know, like sometimes you may feel the breeze blowing against you, and it may come from one direction or another direction, and it may blow for a while, but then eventually it may stop, and then randomly it'll come with something else, you know. And so, hey, when we out here, we just flow with the course of the spirit. You know, whatever the spirit feeds us, that's what we go into.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 3. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed.
Right. So now you notice how it says that all together as if it's like, oh, it was wounded unto death and then it was healed. That the period between that was about 1,000 years, from when Rome fell to when Esau went completely under us, he was subjugated under us, up until he came back into power during the Renaissance period, right? Like I was saying, then at that time you had what's this guy? The Borgia family. They came up into power. Cesare Borgia, Rodrigo Borgia, who was otherwise known as Pope Alexander VI of Rome. So these people came up into power, the Medici family, and then they came up, and what did they do? They took us out because according to prophecy, it was time. Revelation 20 tells you that. They took us out of power. They took over everything. They inherited all the things that, like the woman said in the video you showed, all the advanced technology and everything that we had built. They took down our statues. That's why a lot of the statues have their noses cut off, because we have distinctive noses. Our noses are not thin and pointy. They're more wide. So they cut off a lot of the noses because when you look at the nose, if you look at a statue, typically they'll have like a gray image that they'll use to build, right? The marble or whatever. So you can't really look at the skin color, but you can look at the features. What does the hair texture look like? What does the nose look like? So they cut off a lot of the noses because they wanted to hide the nationality of these people.
Even the lips, sometimes the lips will be because we have big lips.
Yep.
Oh, did y'all know that one of the 7 wonders of the world, which is Mount Rushmore, the faces of those presidents, before they put the faces of presidents up there, they would gather statue faces.
That's crazy.
That big edge where they got those 4 heads, symbolic of their forefathers, but before they chiseled their faces on there, it was Gadite faces up there. That day.
True.
Yeah.
I think I've seen a picture like that. I never really looked too much into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that goes to show you, right? Job 9:24. So when they came up into power, imagine this, right? A criminal comes and takes over, you know, he kills you and he comes and takes over your house. You got pictures of you and your wife, you and the kids, things that are themed towards you. And he's sitting in this house. Would you think he's gonna sit there and wake up every day to see your face?
No.
You know, wake up every day and see the way you got things set up? No, he's gonna say, this is my house now. You know, I'm the captain now. So now he's gonna, no, take that down, burn that, break that down, destroy that. All right, put this in here, put me up there, put this over here, change this, do something else with that. That's what people do, renovate. So that's what Esau did. And now they're trying to act as though they're the ones who brought out every, no, you were not. No, you were not. History proves that. That's why in school, they don't teach you about that history. They teach you his story, and then they call it history. Keep going. So it says what? The deadly wound was healed, the Renaissance era, when they came up, they came back into power. Go ahead.
Continuing in verse 3, and all the world wondered after the beast. Verse 4.
Because now when they came up into power, everybody was in awe as if these were these super advanced, powerful empires that came up. They came over to the west. They conquered. They started taking over the new world, as they call it, because everybody was in awe, right? Yeah, and these guys went over to the new world. Christopher Columbus. They went and they discovered people. They discovered Native Americans, and they came back and brought slaves, and they're going about all these discoveries. But ultimately, you weren't the ones who discovered this new world. When you came here, Gad was already here with the rest of the tribes. How do you say you were looking for India, right? We all know India's in the east, my man. You don't. I was looking for India. There was a storm, and I got lost. And ended up on the west. Wait a minute. You go into India, but you got Hebrew translators. Since when did the Indians speak Hebrew at that time?
So I was gonna say, hence the reason why they're called Native Americans. They're native to this land. You're
Right.
not.
Right.
And then later on, you kick them off the land, then you call them aliens. And now everybody's under that vibration where they're looking at the Native American Indians and so-called Spanish tribes as if they're aliens or foreign to this land, but they were in this land before you.
Yep.
And you have books like the 10 Lost Tribes of Israel, certain books like that bring out historical, writings and things like that of showing you that these people are native. This is their land that you took over.
I believe some of the authors you had Torquemada, I think one of their names.
I think one is James Adair as well.
Yeah, James Adair, and different because you had a lot of back then you had I believe around the 1500s there was this a lot of philosophical debate as to how and why there were people already on the western part of the world before Christopher Columbus and the Europeans went there to discover them. So people were saying, oh, they went through the Bering Straits. Some people were saying, oh, these people were always here, right? Before, like, pre-flood and post-flood and all that, they were here on the western part. We just never found out all of these different theories. And you had some that were saying that these people are the descendants of the tribe of Issachar. You had some that were saying that, oh, when you go into the book of Esdras, the 10 lost tribes, that maybe that's them that's over there. So during that period, you had a lot of different philosophers that were going back and forth saying, look, maybe this is how they got there. Maybe this is how they got there. Maybe this is how they got there. And some of them were throwing out, hey, when you go into them, the writings, they'll tell you how, that the 10 tribes came over here. So why would Christopher Columbus go to the east to Indians with Hebrew translators? Why would he need to do that? And hold on a second. When he went to he's looking for he was trying to trade with Indians, but he ended up on the west coast. Why didn't he just say, oh, I'm sorry, get back on the ship and go to the east? He came there like, oh, I done found what I was looking for. And it says that when you read in the name of the book is the 10 Lost Tribes Associated with the Aborigines of the Western Hemisphere. And it basically tells you how they have testimonies that Yahushua visited them here on this side. And they described the things that he taught them and so on and so forth. So a lot of the tribes over here, they refer to him as Kodo, what's it? Quasi-Kodo. There's another one called, I think, Kukulkan. And there's different names that the different tribes, like Incas, they refer to Yahushua as. Now, they knew that he said he would come back at the end to deliver them. So there's in the book it tells you that when they saw the ships of the Europeans coming, they didn't know what it was. They thought it was Yahushua coming back. So when they saw them, they're like, yo, these people, they embraced them and shit, because they were living amongst each other. They were all brown skinned for generations until they saw these Edomites come up in there. You had Cortez and the European conquistadors, and they took them. They brought them to their king. I believe one of the kings was Montezuma. They brought him to their king, and then they treated him nice and everything. Gave him gold, took care of them. And Esau, like the devil he is, basically said, look, we're going to come with our pagan, heathenistic Christianity, and you're going to either accept it or you're not. And then they said there's a scene where they actually gave the book, their so-called Catholic, Christian, whatever book, to one of the kings And he looked at it, he held it, and he threw it on the floor. And he said, it wasn't speaking to me. I didn't get anything from this. And at that point, it was a massacre. They killed all of them. They took his sons. They shackled him up. They killed him in front of him. I think they burned him alive or something like that. But they at that point, they just started going ham. They took them, they brought them as slaves back to Europe. You know, they came here, colonized them. They did all of those atrocities to them. Forced them to speak Spanish, raped their women, all of these things.
Cortez, right?
Yeah, you know? So that's your history. You speak Spanish now, but you need to ask yourself, well, what were you speaking before Spanish? Were you always speaking Spanish? Spanish is not your language. The Spaniards came here and they made you speak Spanish. So what were you speaking before that? Oh, I don't know. You know?
That's right. You should not, Jake, and you consider yourself born in DR or in Puerto Rico and you speak Spanish, know that that was the language given to you by your oppressors.
Right.
All right? So you shouldn't be proud of that. Just like we're not proud to speak English. All right?
Yeah. The
We
bastard
are
tongue.
happy when we're able to speak Hebrew. When we come amongst brothers and we salute brothers and we talk to each other in Hebrew language. All right? So you shouldn't be proud to speak that Spanish, man. Those are your oppressors.
Let's go back into it. So there's a lot of history in these verses. And you gotta go and take the time and study it and get into it. Because that's how you're gonna understand this. You can't just pick it up one day, or you just come take a picture. You know, you stop, you look at the sign for 2 seconds, and all of a sudden all the information just comes into your head. No, it takes years. You need time to study, to learn, to absorb, and to know if you can receive it.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 4. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast.
So now in Revelation 13, in the first few verses, it's talking about the ancient pagan Roman Empire, but in some verses it's talking about America. It's talking about the beast system here. Because remember, it said here that the wound was healed. So when the wound was healed, this was Esau coming back into power, the beginning of the second beast, right? Esau coming back into power. Eventually he would be established as NATO and the EU. But when he first came up as the Spaniards and Britain and the French, there wasn't a NATO and the EU formed officially just yet. And then later on, they had the EEC and they had the Treaty of Rome, where they officially created NATO, and then they had the EU. They joined them up. America became a power. But Esau overall was still in power. He was rising up into that power. So they worshipped the dragon, which gave what?
Verse 4 again. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?
Right. So as Esau solidified his power, eventually you had NATO and the EU. And people looked at NATO and the EU as such a strong power that they were like, who can go? That's why for a period of time you had these countries with, really spearheaded by America, looked at as world superpowers. And they could go around and do whatever they wanted to do and dominate, because nobody else was really there to stand up against them. Now you had the Cold War with Russia and all of that, but America was really, the West was really one of those main superpowers, right?
We sound strong.
Right, because now they like, you're not so tough anymore. Look at your president. And Biden is through. He's too through in info. Go ahead.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 5. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months.
So now it's talking about America, because that 40 and 2 months, that 40 and 2 months represents a time period. And that time period is roughly 350 years. Because 42 months translates to three and a half years, right? It translates to 3.5 years. But here in the book of Revelation, it's not talking about literally 3.5 years. It's talking about 350 years. So when it says to continue 40 and 2 months, or to continue that period, that 350-year period was really the period when America was up in power. And what was happening at that time? We were under them. So, and it tells you that in the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter. So as they were in their prime, we were in our lowest under them. Go on.
Verse 6. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against the Most High,
Which they do even to this day.
to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven.
Which they do. And that's why they make movies and videos and pictures and all of these things. Those are all disrespectful to the heavenly host. When you take an angel is not a small, tiny, naked baby. The concept of Cupid is disrespectful because they try to paint the angels as naked babies with wings and a love bow, right? On Valentine's Day, you'll see like a naked baby, you know, shooting a arrow at you, and when it pokes you, your eye, you see those pink hearts. They pop them on a person's eyes, and then the pink hearts are all around them, and then they just fall in love and shit. That's not what the angels are about. That's not what they do. If that was the case, when men in the scripture saw the angels, they wouldn't have been so afraid.
And it's a
Samson's
mockery.
Go ahead. Yeah.
It's a mockery to even put Hawashai and the angels as pale-skinned blue-eyed Edomite, because that's that's leprosy. For one, y'all saying that Hawashai had leprosy, and for two, the frail mannerism of how y'all put that image of him out there is like he was weak, a weakling or something. That doesn't show no strength of, you know, the man that is given the description of in the Bible.
Right. Says he was austere.
That's right.
Verse 7. Revelation chapter 13, verse 7. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints.
So who are the saints? The saints are Israelites. That's in the book of Psalms 50 and 5. It tells you that. Go on.
And to overcome them.
And to overcome them. So what happened when they made war with us? They did overcome us. That's how we ended up in slavery under them. All right? They made war with the southern kingdom, which are Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the so-called Negroes as they call them today, and the northern kingdom, the Latinos and the Native Americans. Okay, and they did overcome us. And ultimately, where did we all serve slavery? Here. For the most part, the scriptures tell you Judah and Israel were oppressed together. Nuts, man. Yeah, 50 and 5. And then I think there's also another one in 147. Is it 147 and 19 or 149, 148, 17? It talks about they that made a sacrifice by blood, even the children of Israel. I think it might be like 148 or something like that. You know? But ultimately, the saints are Israelites. You're not a saint just because you do something good. Saint, I don't know, Saint Petersburg or something like that. Like they're just, oh, she was a saint. She was a saint because she did like good things. She was charitable. No, that doesn't make you a saint. In order to be a saint, you're an Israelite. If you're an Israelite, you're a saint by default.
Which one? 17 or?
No, it's fine.
The one I was talking about?
Psalms, yeah, this is Psalms chapter 50, verse 5. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice.
Right, so who made a covenant with the Most High by sacrifice? The children of Israel. And you can read about that in the book of Exodus. When we went to the wilderness and we made a covenant with the Lord.
And even here in the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary,
That's right.
it says right here, saint, a member of God's covenant, people Israel.
Well, there you go. Wow, that's cut. That's cold, clear cut. Read that again.
It says a member of God's covenant, people Israel.
So the Most High's covenant, meaning those that the Most High made a deal with, his people are who? Israel. So if you are a saint, you are a member of the nation of Israel. That means you're an Israelite from one of the respective tribes.
So y'all going to battle
Yourself.
the Zondervan Compact Dictionary,
Right.
Bible Dictionary? Because y'all ready to argue us down, but how you going to argue one of your own scholars who put this in?
Right.
This ain't Jake who put this in there. It's your own goddamn scholar.
Because you can't do anything against the truth before the truth. Go on.
Hola, pues aquí
don't own the rights to this music.
Revelation chapter, I'll start here. So, Revelation chapter 13, verse 7. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations.
Right, and to overcome them. So that's why when they came to the western parts of Africa, think about it, right? So the Europeans came up into power. They could have gone any single way. First off, why did they want slaves? Why did they have to come and look for us? Because that's what they did, didn't they? They came. They weren't living in Africa. Why did they come to Africa? Man, it was been years since I learned this. But it was something, the Council of Berlin. I think it was the Council of Berlin or something like that, where the European countries got together and they divided Africa amongst themselves.
Wait, what'd you say?
And then they had, I think the British had, Ghana was one of the areas that the British had, and other different parts of the western coast. But they got together. Matter of fact, look that up. See if you can find something on that. Conference of Berlin or something. I remember it was named something like that. And they divided up Africa, the continent, and they said, you take this part is for you, as they call it, imperialization. They imperialized or colonized, but really they imperialized. So they came up in there. Ask yourself, why didn't you do this and divide up China or Asia, or East India, and go and take them and put them into slavery? Why did you specifically come to Africa and take the people that were there, and especially the West Africans, and of course different parts, but the bulk was really West Africa? You had slave ports, and you brought them here in different parts of the world, but the majority of them came to America, right? You sold them here on auctioning blocks, right? You separated them, you did all of these things. Why specifically those people? That's Berlin. Yeah. So why specifically those people? And then you also had the northern tribes in slavery as well. Why specifically these people? Why nobody else? Because it was, according to the prophecy we just read, they had to make war against the saints, because these people are Israelites. These people are the saints. And so they came and made war against us, and the Lord made us subject unto them. They brought us here, put us on, they actually did go to war with us, but we lost. They brought us here, put us on plantations, and we were here for roughly 300 somewhat years, hardcore slavery under them, And eventually now the Lord is lifting that, he's breaking off their control over us. What?
The Council of Berlin is not.
That's not a thing?
Yeah, it is,
Let me
but
see.
they just added extra stuff to it, like job, modern day stuff.
Okay.
I should have put
Colonization?
Just to continue what the brother was saying, that's the fulfillment of Ezekiel 37 chapter, like you're saying that the Lord's breaking the hold over us, because what the Lord has given us the Holy Spirit. When you read about that in Revelation 11, if I'm not mistaken, after 3 days and a half, the Spirit of God shall enter into them, and they shall stand upon their feet as a great army. That's when now we're remembering ourselves, and we're coming back into remembrance of who our God is and who we are and what we're supposed to do.
That's why it says great fear fell upon them, because they're like, oh my gosh, we done awoken them again.
Right, because I think it also says in Revelation 11, these two prophets tormented them.
Yep. So they know what happens when we're in sync with our powers. Now, this is it's called the Berlin Conference. So the Berlin Conference, it says, spanned almost 4 months of deliberations from November 15, 1884 to February 26, 1885. By the end of the conference, the European powers, so who are the Europeans at this time? They were Edomites, right? The same ones that make up the beast, right? That went to make war with the saints. So it says here, the European powers had neatly divided Africa up amongst themselves, drawing the boundaries of Africa much as we know them today. So they're the ones who divided up Africa. Then they decided which parts they wanted to conquer, and then they came there and took our people and brought them here. And some of them were still left over there. But as it says, keep going.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 8. Or you want me to read 7 again?
Now you can keep going.
Verse 8. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life.
So in essence, what does that mean? It tells you in Micah 2:10, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. It is polluted, it shall surely destroy you, right? So those that are, we're not worshiping the beast, because we're not down with the system. We're not in sync with the system, ready to go with their move. We're speaking against it now. Matter of fact, can you get Jeremiah 28:8? Because what we're doing is coming against the system, but we're teaching the scriptures. Because the scriptures are against the system. Why? Because the system is built. Oh, you here for the word too? What's up with that? But the system is built against what the scriptures teach. That's why they promote abominable foods. You know, pork, shrimp, crab, lobster. All these abominable foods, they push them as delicacies. You literally have a shop called Red Lobster. And then the scriptures tell you you're not supposed to eat lobsters. See? Now they're taking it, they said, look, the scriptures say, you know, man and man, no plus. Man plus man is bad. They say, no. Man plus man is good. Woman plus woman is good. Man equals woman is good. No, that's not good. That's against the scriptures. That's why the Most High hates this place.
If you check it out, this place that we call modern day Babylon, their statue,
That's right.
their statue is the reason why it's so sinful here, because the Statue of Liberty means that you have liberty to be sinful here.
Right.
Anything goes under the sun here, you know. And if you check it out, the statue looked like a tranny or
I think it's supposed to be a drag.
or something.
Yeah, I think it's a
You know what
drag.
I'm saying? You don't see the manly face on that, and they talking about Lady Liberty, but I always thought that was a dude. And you know, it had the nerve to have the Bible in his hand. That statue,
Oh, he does?
it's like a mockery. I don't know what book it is in his hand, but it's a statue and it's holding a flame and a book in the other hand. Like if they trying to give off the spiritual representation of, you know, we a God-fearing country, but y'all wicked as hell, because like I said, the Statue of Liberty means that you are at liberty from all sin.
Yeah.
And here in America, man, it is the most sinfulest place, man.
And that's why it says they whose names were not written in the book, because they were not of the elect ultimately. You know. Now at some point we were worshiping the system, but we repented because we didn't know any better. But when we found out, that's why it says in Romans 12:2 that be not conformed to this world. When you're conformed to this world, you worship the beast. But but what? Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, and that's what we did. Do me a favor, for time's sake, jump down to verse 15. No, it's like it. You can read that. I was talking about in Revelation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is Jeremiah 28:8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old.
So, and this goes to show you why this ain't an overnight thing. You can't just come into the truth and overnight you're just gonna know all the scriptures. We plan to go through what? At least 3 or 4 chapters today. Man, you know what I'm saying? We barely got through the first chapter because there's so much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, in order to understand this, we had to go this precept, pull some history here, speak on this here, and we're just giving you bits and pieces. If you want to fully understand it, you got to actually read it. You got to watch the video. You got to say, oh, they were talking about the Dark Ages. You have to go and sit down, spend some time reading about the Dark Ages. What was the Dark Ages? Who was ruling during that time? Who was ruling before the Dark Ages? Who ruled after the Dark Ages? And this is a period of 1,000 years. That's a lot of information. You got to be able to know what information to intake, what to not intake. So it's a lot of information in just a couple of verses.
I was gonna say, remember, this is just something like kind of recently new, where brothers is only prophesying for like about 3 hours. Some brothers still prophesy for like maybe 5 or more, but like this is like a recent thing now, where it's like as we're getting close to the end, brothers only prophesying for like 2 or 3 hours. But before, remember, brothers used to prophesy for like 12 or whatever to like late at night. So like he said, there's a lot that if we want to, we could keep going for as long as we want.
Yeah.
But you know,
as long as the spirit permits us, you know, as the scriptures say, we speak as the Spirit gives us utterance. So it takes time. You got to be patient, you know, but you got to get it because you're running out of time. That's why the scriptures say, he may run that readeth it.
one example in the scriptures was that when Paul was teaching and the dude fell out.
Oh yeah, yeah,
He was
yeah,
talking
yeah,
so
yeah.
long, dude was like, wow.
Yeah. Knocked out and fell out the window and died. And Paul kept talking. And then when he was done, he went out there and he went and brought him back to life. So why didn't Paul bug out and lose his, oh my God, you just died? You know? He said, hey, it's all right. You know, he's just sleeping.
Yeah, we gonna leave him. He's fine. His life is in him.
That's
Don't
it.
worry.
And you gotta think about it, right? If you fall from that high, there's some damage that's done. Some broken parts. So in order to be healed, that means the body has to be healed and the spirit brought back into it.
You know, in the spiritual. Lord, I'm out. Don't worry, you're gonna go back down. Just give it.
Don't sit down yet. No, you can't get your ass back down there, all right? I got unfinished business with you. That's what he did to Paul. Because Paul died, and then when he went back up there, the Lord and the angels sent him back down. They said, no, get back down there. You still got work to do. What you thought this was? So that's why when he had to go back up, he was so quick. You know, they were crying. They said, oh, he said, no, look, my time, I must now be offered. I've completed my race. I've done my job. That was like a Stan Lee.
Oh, sure.
Maybe that is Stan Lee. Maybe he has spiritual power. He just came back. Okay. So, where were we? Right here.
Jeremiah 28:8. Start again. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence.
So they prophesied against many countries and great kingdoms of war, of evil, and of pestilence. And that's what we're doing. Why did they prophesy of war and evil and pestilence? Because these were the plagues the Lord was going to bring to those countries for the wickedness that they were doing. And that's the same thing here. We're warning you of the plagues the Lord is going to bring upon this place for the wickedness that's being done here. Do we not all admit that this place is wicked? That it promotes wickedness? And the Lord hates wickedness? And the Lord has judged countries and nations in the past for being wicked? So when we say this place is going to be destroyed just like the nations in the past because of their wickedness, are we wrong? No. We're telling you what the Bible says.
Just off the principle alone with Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yep.
This place does the same thing. So just off of that alone, this place is going to be destroyed.
Yep. That's right. Hey, all you got to do is just listen. You just got to sit down and actually listen to the words that are coming out, and you'll see that it makes sense. You know? So let's read that. Let's finish it off there. So so really, this is the path to the end, part 1, and it starts with we read 2nd Ezra 6 and 9. Well, it says Esau is the end of the world. Well, this is how Esau is going to bring about the end of the world. Revelation the 13th chapter. Once that thing gets fully instituted, that's it. The time is ticking. The clock starts, which has already started, but it picks up. Go on.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast.
And honestly, I can't even count by memory how many times we've broken down this verse. The amount of times that either I've read it myself or another brother has read it and I've heard it being broken down or I've broken it down is so much that at this point you should be able to break it down in your sleep because it's been brought out so many times. But that's a good thing. You can never bring it out enough. Go on.
Verse 15 again, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast.
That he is Esau. He had power to give life, meaning to bring into effect, right? The what?
The image of the beast.
Meaning, what Esau did is he resurrected the system of the ancient Roman Empire, and then he implemented it in this time, and now he's taking it a step further into the New World Order. That's how he gave life unto the image of the beast. Go on.
That the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast.
So that system is going to come now and be put into effect and be pushed onto another level, which is that NWO. And that anybody that would what?
And cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
So when you say, all right, I'm not down with this system anymore. I don't want to partake of this anymore. I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to take your grain of rice. I'm not hungry. I don't want to submit. I don't want to be a part of the Internet of Things. I don't want any of that stuff. That's you refusing to worship the image of the beast. What does that mean? Anybody that would not worship the IOB should be killed. Okay? Meaning they're going to come to try and put you to death. They're going to turn the world so dystopian that they will be justified in putting you to death. Go on. Good.
Thus the word cause in this verse is saying they're going to force it on you. It's either this or death. And a lot of you going to accept it because y'all afraid to die.
All right, they're going to fashion the people for it. You know? Poeo, he calls it. Go on.
Verse 16. And he calls it all, both small and great.
So now, what is he going to do? He's going to make a system to where it's impossible for you to not be a part of it. It's impossible for you to say you don't, to not worship the image of the beast and be fine. And then he's going to what? Cause, which in the Greek, the word causeth is poeo. That's the Greek word over there. Why am I talking about Greek? Because when you go back, this was translated also out of the Greek language. Okay? So you have it because you had the Hebrew and then you had the Greek as well. And when you go back to the original, the root language, one step above English, you have Greek. And in the Greek word, you have poeo. The word poeo was translated into English as causeth. So in order to understand what causeth means, you got to go back to the word poeo where it was translated from, understand what does poeo mean, so that way when I read causeth, I know what it means. What am I talking about here? So and he causeth, meaning that he's going to fashion, he's going to make people ready, he's going to prepare the world to what?
And he calls it all.
Cause of all, so everybody. That's why they have this whole energy crisis going on in Europe. They got all this, the inflation and all these things going up. It's to prepare people, everybody in the planet. That's why these are world problems. To do what?
Both small and great.
Small and great.
Rich and poor.
Rich, it doesn't matter if you're rich or if you're poor.
Free and bond.
Whether you are walking around freely or if you're in jail. When you're bond means that you're shackled. You know? Go ahead.
Just say the word.
Now you can just say it.
To receive a mark.
Now, once again, just like we did for the word causeth, you got when you see this word mark, it's a key word. So when you go, you got to go one step back into the Greek, and the Greek word there is charagma or charagma. That's the Greek word that they looked at, and then when they were translated into English, they said, "Oh, okay, charagma in English is mark." But you need to go back into the word charagma and understand what does it mean, because there are other words in Greek in the Greek language that can also be translated into English as mark. So you may see the word if you understand Greek, you may see the word charagma, but you may also see the word skopeo. Both of these words are translated into English as mark. So if you just read it in the English, how do you identify, is it talking about skopeo, or is it talking about charagma, or is it talking about another word? The word skopeo means to pinpoint, to point out, to scope out. The word charagma means to go beneath the surface, to go past the surface. Like when you carve something out, you're breaking past the surface and you're making a mark or an imprint underneath the surface. These are two different meanings. But yet, when you look at the word mark, you have one. When you hear mark in English, you think of, oh, well, can you mark the spot for me? Meaning, like, put a sign somewhere to notify me of something. X marks the spot. But when you go into the Greek, that's how you find out, oh, so when it says to receive a mark, what it really means is to receive something that's implanted underneath the surface of their skin. How do we know it's the skin? Because what is it going to go on to say?
To receive a mark in their right hand.
So a mark is, the charagma is going beneath the surface, right? Well, we know now the context is dealing with the human body, because the mark is going to be in your right hand. So that means you're going to go beneath the surface of their skin. You're going to go subdermal, and you're going to leave something, you're going to implant something in there. And that thing that you're going to implant is the RFID, C-HIP. Once again, spell it out. Spell out the letters in C-HIP, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. What?
Or in their forehead.
Or in their foreheads. And that's where you have, what's the name of this company? You have Elon Musk's Neuralink, but there's another company Meta, yeah, but there's another one. It starts with an S. Synchron. Synchron, I think that's the name. Yeah, Synchron. And they're basically in the race with Neuralink, but they're really beating Neuralink in this in the brain implants department. Go on. So in essence, it's saying here that they're gonna come out with a which they already have it out, implants, but they're gonna fashion society to the point where everybody is gonna be forced at some point to opt into receiving this thing under their skin in their right hand or in their head. Go ahead.
Verse 17. And that no man might buy or sell.
So this is the consequence for not taking this thing, not allowing them to give you this thing. Just like there's a consequence for not taking the, you know, I gotta do it like that. Yeah, you gotta roll up the sleeve. You gotta, you know, give you that thing. There's consequences for that, right? Or there's gonna be consequences for this. Go on.
Save he that had the mark.
So, if you don't have this thing, this C-hip that they're gonna put inside of your body that people are already taking now, these implants, very soon, you're not gonna be able to buy or sell anything. So how are they gonna go about doing that? Right now, what are the options of buying and selling? You have check, you have Apple Pay, you have credit cards, debit cards, cash, you know, crypto, all of these things, right? They're gonna eliminate all that. And they're gonna leave, the only thing left is gonna be the C-hip, the Charagma, the MOTB. These are all acronyms we use for the same thing. And that's what they're gonna do very soon. That's what's gonna force you to say, oh, well, if I don't take this thing, how am I gonna buy or sell anything? How am I gonna work? How am I gonna pay bills?
When you look at it, how they've been moving society, showing you that this is their plan all along, is because years earlier, what? You had dollar bills and you had coins, and that's how you dealt. But then what? Eventually they brought out the credit card, and what? That's how you start dealing with digital payments. And then eventually the credit card came with the little new box that has there, like the brother says, the C-hip. Now it has that there. But what? Now eventually they're moving into what? Like they have over there in Sweden, to where they don't want you to just have this thing in your pocket no more. Now they want to be inside of you. They want, like the scriptures say in Revelation, to put a mark in your right hand. They want to put it subdermally underneath you. And they've been slowly moving society to going into that direction. Poeo, causing you, fashioning you, getting you ready to preparing your mind to accept this. At first you had regular dollar bills, coins, quarters, and all that. Then eventually they came out with the credit card. So it's like, oh, this is so much easier. Just swipe it and then, you know, go through. Then eventually the credit card came with the little thing on it.
Contactless payment.
Yeah. And then now you're seeing how with the, if you take bus or train now, they have it to where you could just, the phone, you could just go like that and it's quick. Or you could take out your credit card just quick.
If I may say,
No, that's it.
the elder bring it up. It's the mentality, the technology, and the reality.
Right.
The mentality is to get you used to, you know, contactless. What you say?
Contactless payment.
And that's a step towards the technology with that thing inside your card and in your phone. And then ultimately after the technology, you have the reality.
Yep.
You know, and that's when it's like you said, that's going to be obsolete, and there's only going to be one option for payment.
Yeah, they're gonna phase everything else out.
That's good that you are, because you could use that with the credit card. Because what? They saw people like it with the credit card. Oh, this works. They like it. Okay, push it forward. Now make it a reality where now, hey, well, you could still use cash and credit card, but what? People more use the credit cards. It's easier, it's simple.
Remember, a few years back, they had something called the Ultimate Fan, where in one of them countries, they got that, you know what I mean? They got the Quran, okay?
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it was called Ultimate Fan or something, where you just walk right through the turnstile because you already...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were showing the commercial of how you being an ultimate fan, everything is laid out for you. The concession guy comes to your seat, delivers your food that you already pre-purchased. When you wave your hand. When you wave your hand.
they're trying to give you perks,
Yeah.
benefits for doing it, and then punishments for not.
Yeah, because like with the my bad, not to drag it long, but like when you do that with the train, when you keep using it multiple times, I think like you use it 12 times, they give you free like for a couple of days, like
Oh, yeah,
free
that's-
like all weekend or
What?
something.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's a bad
So you just
gimmick,
keep
though.
using it. Oh, you want to go wild on the weekend? Don't worry, you can go here, there, you ain't got to pay nothing.
Wow.
But people not realizing how much it costs for a weekly pass. It's like they've been doing that, but they still keep raising it up and not giving you the real perks. Like that's what this is all about. You know, the C-hip is like a what they call it, false advertisement, because you think you're getting a lot, but you ultimately losing your soul. So how much are you really gaining? It's a weak gimmick. It's a whole trick bag.
Yep. And only those that are only the elect are going to escape it, like you read earlier. Let's finish up in
Verse 17 again, Revelation chapter 13, verse 17. And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom.
and they all represent the same thing ultimately. Because the name of the beast, the mark of the beast, the number of his name, they're all ultimately going to come down to one thing. When you have the name, you're associated with it. When you have his number, you're associated with it. When you have his mark, you're associated with it. So taking that MOTB is basically gonna associate you with all three things. Because then you can be identified as a part of the beat. Go on.
Verse 18. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. For it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
And that's 666. A score is 20. 3 score is 3 times 20, which is 60. So 600, 60, and 6. That's 666. And that's the number. All right. So the message is, don't take that thing, no matter what. There ain't no second chances after this. Yeah, 14. Yeah. Now we're gonna read the judgment or the consequence for if you go ahead and take it. If you they were gonna kill me, they were gonna threaten to do whatever to me. They I couldn't get a job, so I took. That's the reason why a lot of people took the, when I do this, you should know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the, so ultimately they are that's the reason why a lot of people went and took it, because they said, oh, my job, I couldn't work, I couldn't do this. Listen, man, you go and do that with the C-hip, you're done. You're done. You're gonna die. If you are here on the soils of America and you go and take that C-hip, it doesn't matter what excuse it is, those missiles will melt you when World War III pops off.
Right.
So if you take the C-hip, you need to be afraid. Good evening. Go on.
Revelation chapter 14 and 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image,
Right, go ahead.
and receive his mark,
So you receive that C-hip, you go ahead and say, oh, I was afraid they had a guillotine in front of me. Oh, my mom, my wife, my kids, their lives were threatened and I had to do it. But you got to have faith, because who was threatening their lives? Esau? Well, could the Most High not deliver them? If the things you did, Noah, the things Noah did pleased the Most High. What did the Most High do? He saved Noah and his wife and his sons and their wives, right? So could you not have the faith that if you stood firm, the Most High would save and protect your wife and your kids and whoever, your family, whoever you're worried about? The Most High can deliver you from it all. So that's where faith has to come in and say, you know what? The consequences that Esau is going to push on me for not taking his system is not worse than what the Most High can do to me. And I fear the Most High more. So you know what? To hell with this devil. Go on.
continue, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand.
So in any part of your body, ultimately. But the reason the Apostle John mentions hand and forehead is because these are the main areas in where people are gonna, the thing is gonna reside. Typically, right? When a thief comes to rob you, he sticks you up. Where does he look? Does he take off your shoes and try to look inside of your socks? Or grab your shirt and try to look at the collar? No. Where does he go? He goes for your pockets. He goes for your pockets because everybody knows that your money in your wallet is going to be either in your pockets. If you're a woman, it's going to be in your bag, your purse, whatever. So that's where they're going to go. A crook is not going to come and try to snatch off your shoes and run with it. He'll try to take off your bag. He'll try to run
Run your pockets.
Run your pockets, right? So he ain't gonna expect you to. You ain't gonna go to the store and you're gonna reach into your pants and then pull out of your credit card and then try to swipe that shit. the clerk is gonna look at you like, "Fuck is this nigga?" Sir, are you okay? You 1 second. You pull or you dig into your socks and your dirty ass 2-year-old gym socks and here you go. No. That's not. They probably gonna call security on you. Well, but I got the money to pay. Well, we don't accept that kind of money over here. All right, you take that somewhere else. So, ultimately, that this thing, I don't know of any tattoo artist that you gonna go to him and you go to the hospital. You gonna go to them and say, yo, chip me up. You know, all right, go ahead. So they no. But you gonna see why I said that, right? So they chip me up, and he's gonna say, all right, he's gonna get the alcohol ready. And here it is, you unbuckling your belt, and you about to sit on the table and shit. They gonna look at you like, we don't do that over here, man. We don't do that shit. Give me your hand. Well, no, but I wanted to then go somewhere else, because I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? So the main places they're gonna prepare you for is there. You ever go to the hospital and they're about to give you an injection? Now, when they give you an injection, right? The injection, the point is to get whatever is in the serum into your bloodstream, right? But usually they'll go for your arm, or somewhere. Typically it's your arm. Right here. If they're drawing blood, they'll go for the vein. You ever go to the hospital and the doctor says, take off your shoes for me? They pull off your socks, they spread your toes, and they got you know what I'm saying? They come in with the needle and shit. You're gonna look at what you're doing. I'm giving you an injection. Why are you doing it there? Why not?
Right, because you're used to right here.
Exactly. So that's the whole point. The main places that they're gonna be having to see him is inside of the hand or is inside of the head, because those are the places they're gonna scan. You're not gonna go to the store and show your cheek and then the all right, scan that. Okay, good for you. They're not gonna do that. All right, public indecency.
Can I say something?
Of course you can.
Last year, a lot of places like even AC. Remember when we had to go in the lobby? They got a person at the podium with a scanner going for your head for the temperature. A lot of places was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Or they'll make you put your hand underneath the scanner and check your temperature. And why is those two places, like the hand on the forehead, it's like they trying to live up to
Prophecy.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because they say that the places where your temperature changes most rapidly is in your hand, or right here, right under your hairline or your forehead. What's his name? Carl Sander, one of the developers of the actual C-hip, said that. He said that they had to find a way, because you can't charge it, so they had to find a way where it could sustain itself and still function. Yeah, in the body. And they said they had to find a place where your temperature changes most rapidly. And they said the two places are in your hand, in between your index and your thumb, and right under your hairline.
I brought this up before, but in that one movie, Jurassic World. Jurassic World? Yeah, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. When there was like, how can you tell if the dinosaurs are still alive or whatever? Or how can you find them? She was like, the body pretty much is the battery for the the C-hip in there. Yeah. It's basically your body is the charge for it.
That's it.
That keeps it going.
Yep. And that's why if you take it, you're going to get a cancerous sore, as the scriptures say, and you're going to have a discharge, and then you're going to get a missile on your ass. That was it on there, right?
No, verse 10. Revelation chapter 14, verse 10. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Heavenly Father.
So this is what's going to happen if you say, it's all right. I'm just going to take it anyway, honey. And I'll see you in the afterlife. Cool. But before you get there, you're going to drink of the wrath of the Most High. Everybody's going to know who the Most High is in that day. You're either going to find out on a chariot, rejoicing and afraid, or you're going to find out down here as you're burning, screaming for your life, and the fire is just burning you. People fear hell. That's going to be hell. Go on.
Verse 10 again. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Heavenly Father.
Which is metaphorically put, for you're going to be punished by the Lord in his anger. Go on.
which is poured out without mixture
So it's going to be raw. It's not going to be diluted. He's not going to hold back. Go on.
into the cup of his indignation.
Mm-hmm.
And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone.
Where's that fire and brimstone going to come from? It's going to come from the nuclear missiles and the chariots. Go on.
In the presence of the holy angels.
Why? Because when Yahushua comes, he's coming in a chariot, and those chariots that they come in are what's going to be zapping the lasers, adding to the fire. Go on.
And in the presence of the Lamb.
In the presence of the Lamb, which is Yahushua. Revelation, the 5th chapter tells you that. That was it? All right, so let's finish it off actually, Ezekiel 33 and 33. Ezekiel 33 and 33, yep. Because ultimately, everybody's going to know what the truth is. You just got to hope that it ain't too late for you. You know?
Take advantage of the grace period.
Yeah, take advantage of the grace period. That's right. That's right. And then seeing the things that are happening on the earth today should be a wake-up factor to you that, yo, you know what? Science is going on, and you know we got to really open up our eyes and watch out. You know.
This is Ezekiel chapter 33, verse 33. And when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come.
So when these prophecies start getting fulfilled, right? Go ahead.
Then shall they know that a prophet had been among them.
Mm-hmm. So that's when you're gonna know that there was a prophet among you, because these things that are gonna come to pass are the same things the prophets were warning you about. So whether you believe us or not, that's on you. But when the time comes, you're gonna be in it, and you're gonna need to find out what to do then. All right. But anyway, with that, brothers, any precepts? Anything else? Any points? All right. Cool. So with that, we're gonna end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. We want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Kakadash. Until next time, Shalom.